Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to a brand new week of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Tonight, one of my favorite people in ufology, Sev Talk, is here. We're going to get into UFOs, aliens, ET contact experiences, and so much more tonight with Sev. Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon as he's preparing all sorts of great art for our Vegas party, May 19th to 21st in Las Vegas at the Golden Nugget. So we want to make sure you're there. But first, we got to say hello to all of you in our chat room so far tonight. We got Race Fan back in the gold medal position, and B taking home the silver. Penny Van with a strong bronze medal tonight. There's Logan L. and Eric Markham, Roy Boy, Michael Morris, Lisa C. How you all doing? And let's see, who else is here? Adam Lakatos is here. Adam will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. And let's see, we got Obi Flat, Lisa C., and Rui from Portugal. Welcome, Rui. Good to have you back. Jack Clark, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Samantha Hazelwood Gray, Michael Fontaine. How you guys doing? Les Paul Holland from Australia. Good to see you, my man. And there's Nancy Hayes. Nice to have you back. Sweet Donna Spencer. We love it when you're here, my friend. Stu Gerson, good to have you here. Stu will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Let's continue on. Jessica Kurt M. Pixie Lara, nice to have you all here. And Love V Love Hadley, thank you for coming on in. Hello, Mark Ellens, nice to have you back. And W. David Page and Dogface Simon, always a pleasure to have you here. My man Millennium and Robert Lamoth, how you guys doing? As we continue on with Roll Call, TMI, thank you for joining us tonight. Paramarv, good to see you. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. All right, let's get things going here. Dark Protocol, good to see you. Hey, Hips and Chips, how was your weekend? Hope you had a good one. Long Island Bigfoot, good to see you. And who else do we have? Dirty Filth is in the chat room. Amy, how you doing? Good to have you here. Hello, lovely Kira. Thank you for coming on in. Richard Elmore, Vaughn Patrick, Mark Sanchez. Please tell us the Hawaiian shirt you have on for tonight's show. We'd love an update on that. James Weston, good to have you here. Deb from SAC, thanks for coming on in. Zen1, always a pleasure. Jenny, how you doing? One of my favorite wrenches. Sensational Sherry and Ozzy Sue, good to see you. Hi, Matthew Gutka and Chairman Meow, good to have you both here. Moving on here, we got Charles Wempy, how you doing, man? Louisville Charlie, he's a slugger, that one. Alphabet, good to have you back. It's been a while. Michael Gutierrez, thank you for coming on in. And let's see, who else do we have here? There's little Timmy Senor, a.k.a. Anonymous Rex. Good to have you here, buddy. And Random Guy, there he is. Hold on, let's start the radio side here so we can let Bill WD40 into the chat room so he can lube us up for tonight's show. Because, you always got to go in smooth for a show. WD40 does it all the time. All right, continuing on. Random Guy, good to have you here, buddy. All right, Jeff Steve Garvey, he'll hit a home run for you. Loco Boy and Luscious Jules, good to see you. And Bobo, what's happening, my man? Sweet Donna C, nice to see you. Hi, Chris. Teen, nice to have you here. And who else do we have? Nikki in Seattle, thank you for joining us. And Zoria, I think I got that right. Welcome to SOR chat. Thank you. Travis Woostus, how you doing, buddy? How you doing there, Moostus? Good to have you here. Love you, man. Brad, thanks for coming on in. We got like 30 seconds. Can I do it? Can we make this happen? Hi, Mama Susan and TK's Garage. Good to see you. And who else do we have here? Oh, Cat Chaser, you're awesome. Thank you for coming on in. And we are caught up. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. Hi, Tim Mothman. And of course, our store is open on our website. Dennis Zuniga, great veteran. Tim Fellon, how are you? Do me a favor, everyone. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of UFOs tonight. Sev Tok, author, researcher, experiencer, is our guest. We'll bring her in here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Another spooky story from Swamp Dweller. Then little Timmy Senor will be by for the UFO report. Maybe we'll have a random guy sighting as well. All right, here we go. Sev Tok was born in Istanbul, Turkey, but came to the U.S. as a little girl growing up in Virginia and Washington, D.C. suburbs. Her parents introduced her to spirituality at an early age. She started meditating in the 5th grade, and that opened up a whole new world for her. She began having supernatural experiences, which continued into her adult years. She became a soul purpose coach, conducting soul purpose readings. Her ability to really read her client's energy field and hear, feel, and see interdimensional information that was coming forward. Then came the aliens. And you know what? When the aliens arrive, you know good things are going to happen. And that's why we love it with Sev Tok here. Literally, she is one of my favorite people. Sev, thank you so much for joining us. How have you been?
Hi, that was a wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone who's here. I've been scrolling through the comments. There's so many people. Thank you. Thank you. I saw one person, I think Stu maybe, said there's a Tok, Alaska, which I've heard about, but I haven't been to Alaska yet.
Oh, well, you know what? I've never been to Alaska either. And it's just a 24-hour drive away north. That's it. What? You know, I'm closer to California than I am Anchorage. Yeah. Weird. Okay. Isn't that weird? Yeah, I know. It weirds me out. But you know what? I'm really excited because I get to see you and hang out with you next month at UFO Con 2023. You are going to be one of the major speakers there. And this time, it's a total role reversal from Denver at MUFON Symposium, where you were the MC and I was the speaker. Now I'm the MC and you are one of the speakers at this event. And I'm so excited to see you again, my friend. You are just
so happy to hear that you're going to be there. So you're going to write my introduction?
I'm not going to write it, but I will get up there.
I wrote yours. I wrote everyone's introductions. Yeah.
Okay. I will write something. You know what? I don't even need to write it. I'll be honest with you. I can go off my head and just tell everyone how awesome you are. And go from
That's
there.
true.
But
That's
you know
true.
what? I will say this, and I'm not saying this because you're on the air. I would say this to anybody. Ufology would be a better place if everybody had your kind of attitude towards this subject.
Oh,
It really would. I mean, this subject has turned so controversial, so political. Everybody's kind of dug their heels in the sand and kind of made their stance on who they agree with, who they don't agree with, who they feel are trolls, who's telling the truth. And yet here there's people like you out there who are just like, can we just study the subject for what it is and
yes.
make it happen? How do you have that attitude with everything that's going on today?
Because I prefer to talk and discuss and deal with my personal experiences. And that's why. I'm not really, there's so many people who are really good at going into the history, digging up government papers, all those things. And I'm glad that they're good at that. My interest is just somewhere else. My interest is in the experience itself because it's so powerful and life changing. And I believe it can change the world, the information that experiencers are receiving from ETs and non-human beings. So that's where my interest is, in the personal transformation and in the collective transformation.
Are you like me and many other experiencers or people who have both feet in this UFO swimming pool who believe that, that when you hear the government or all of these different organizations talk about nuts and bolts and crash retrievals, we got to figure out the science behind it all. Are you at the point in your life now where you just roll your eyes and say, guys, you just don't get it. You just don't get it.
I think it's old. It's old thinking. I think yeah, that's my personal opinion. We can move on because as a society, we're becoming much more accepting of our multidimensionality. And so it would just be nice if we start to focus on that and use that as the lens through which we try to understand ET contact.
Why do you think so many people still to this day kind of quash the experiencer? For instance, they will absolutely bash someone who has had an experience with no evidence, just their anecdotal story. Yet at the same time, they take somebody like Commander David Fravor or some of these other fighter pilots or helicopter pilots or commercial pilots who have the exact same degree of story, but just because they have wings on their shoulder,
Yeah,
apparently it carries so much more weight.
yeah.
I mean, do you see the contradiction there?
Oh, yes. As experiencers, we see that. Uh, but my opinion is, if that's what it takes for the world to hear it, fine. If that's where we are right now, eventually that'll change and we won't need uh, that kind of. It's, to me, it's like having that kind of status is a validation of logic or a validation of smarts. And so a lot of people just want that validation given to them instead of them listening to the person and coming up with their own idea of whether they think that person is smart or logical. And I think it's starting to shift, but it doesn't bother me too much. I get it. Just like in the world of ufology, it's mostly men, and I understand that, and I'm hoping that that changes as well. Although you hosted Women in Ufology conference, which I was honored to be a part of, and when you did that, I was like, that is fantastic, and I wish we would do more of that. Kathy Martin is extraordinary. One thing that you did in your talk at Denver, which I loved, was that you pointed out all the people, Kathy Martin was one of them, that are like extraordinary in this field, but they don't tend to get they don't get as much press or as much notoriety as some of these other men do. And I really liked that you did that.
Well, you know what? I try and speak from the truth of what I notice. The beautiful part about being a journalist is I don't choose sides. And I know that's very old school compared to what we see in journalism today, which I think has absolutely destroyed a beautiful career. But there are so many different sides to ufology, and there are so many different brilliant people in their own ways. And you don't have to have that master's degree or doctorate in science or physics or mathematics or whatever it may be. There are a lot of people out there who are knowing things that they shouldn't know. They're experiencing things that they shouldn't experience. And why should my knowledge or your knowledge or Kathleen Martin's knowledge or anybody's knowledge, no matter the sex or color or creed or religion, you know be different from those just because they have PhD at the end of their name or
Yeah.
doctor at the front of their name?
Well, that's the society we live in right now. This is the way it is.
Well, and I understand that, but we have a chance to change that.
Yes.
I think in ufology, I really do believe that we do. It's just a matter of, I think everything's just moving so fast, faster than it's ever moved before.
Yeah.
I believe that there is maybe, just maybe, time for people to that there's going to be a bunch of people, I think, eventually who are going to reevaluate what ufology is and what it is, it benefiting them and their cause for what they originally joined for. And I hope that does happen, because I think there's too many brilliant minds that are being silenced right now because everybody wants to pay attention to what's happening in Washington, D.C.
So, what brilliant minds do you think are being kept quiet?
I would say that, okay, let's take, I know you're a part of MUFON. There's plenty of people in MUFON. Okay, whether it's yourself, whether it's Mark D'Antonio,
Mhm.
whether it's Bob Spearing, who we just had on the show, Katie Grabowski,
Yeah.
many others who have seen and taken some incredible reports over the years
Yeah.
that has really mystified this entire phenomena to them, things that shouldn't even exist. Yet people are multiple people are having, you even take, a lot of people may not agree with this, but you even take somebody like Richard Dolan or Linda Moulton Howe, Grant Cameron, legends in this field, who, they haven't gone silent. Okay, their popularity is probably bigger than it's ever been, but shouldn't they be a part of the conversation, the bigger conversation, with everything they've learned over 40 plus years of research, each and every
Yeah.
one of them?
Yeah.
Okay, why are they being silenced? Okay, why is everybody kind of being pushed? If you're part of ufology, in my opinion, you've kind of been pushed to the side by this whole governmental side of everything. And I don't think that's healthy, especially for the experiencers out there who just want to know one thing. And I said this in Denver. Why me?
Hmm. Mhm.
That's it. Why me?
Mhm.
Heavy question.
Yes, and well, do you believe in a higher self?
I tend to, yes.
A higher self that calls the shots, and our so-called lower self doesn't hear the higher self often, might not even be aware of the higher self. And so it could very well be that from that perspective, from the higher self perspective, this is something that we wish to experience. So
Absolutely.
if you ask why me, ask yourself, why did I choose this? Why me? Yeah, ask yourself. There's really no one else that can give you that answer. Because from every ET contact, I help experiences around the world, personally and through MUFON. And people can contact me on my website, planetsev.com, and tell me about their experiences. And if they need help, I'll talk to them. I'll help them as much as I can. What was I saying before that?
Well, let me rephrase this, because one other point that I know you loved that I made in Denver was the why now aspect of everything. Why all of a sudden out of nowhere is the government come out and said this? Why all of a sudden is the military talking about this and members of the media? And why has this become a hot button topic? And that question still hasn't been answered by anybody, and I think it's one of the biggest mysteries that we have.
I think it's social media is driving it. Does the social media drive everything these days? I think that's what it is. Yeah. Mhm. Because it builds up and builds up and builds up to the point where you just can't hold it back. And that's been shown many times. That's what I think it is. Because I don't think the government really wants to share anything. To me, it feels like they're kind of being forced to give something, to give us a crumb. And so hoping that a crumb will keep us pacified. And for some of us, the crumbs do pacify because the information that the government's sharing with us is not complete and total, and it's also laced with fear. And uh, and and that's the whole point. As long as it's laced with fear, a lot of people will want to turn their heads and not face it, will not want to believe it because it's such a scary thing.
Should we be fearful of this topic of
No.
UFOs and extraterrestrials?
No, I don't think we should be fearful of any topic, no matter what the outcome, but especially not this, because what's happening is we are realizing that we are in a neighborhood, and it's important to know who your neighbors are. It's important to know your neighborhood. And I think that's very important information because knowing who our neighbors are going to help us identify who we are, where we came from, how old are we, why are we here. We'll find all those answers as we start to discover our neighbors in the galaxies. They know, they'll tell
Love
us.
it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that's a perfect answer. Sev Talk is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Sev, I don't want to make this conversation political the way it's kind of started, but it's hard not to get everybody's opinion on that today in today's day and age. But for you, you're someone who you remind me a lot of my good friend Katie Grabowski, who, even though there's so much negative that's going on, you're always seeing the positive and the brighter side of the picture. What is the brighter side of the picture of ufology for you in today's day and age?
Oh, the ability to personally transform someone so that they're actually fulfilled and expressing themselves authentically, and how that positively changes your life. And then as we individually transform, then we shall collectively transform. And that's really what a lot of us want. A lot of us want to live in a kinder, gentler version of Earth. And it's going to take each and every single one of us to get there. Each and every single one of us is so important. We matter so much individually to do this work, to do the personal transformational work. And the messages that people are getting from the ETs support this personal transformation to move us in a direction of happiness and fulfillment.
And how did you figure that out?
Well, that's what I was told in my various conversations with the ETs. I've been an experiencer since I was a little girl, and my first conscious memories are from the age of 10. And when I discuss my ET contact, I like to talk about my conscious memories. I've been under hypnosis a couple of times, but I tend to still focus on my conscious memories. Not that there's anything wrong with hypnosis, I just don't know what it is. And I know it can be very, very beneficial. And if anyone wants hypnosis, I highly recommend it. I'm just not quite sure what it is. Are you making up those memories, or are those memories real? I don't know. So for those reasons, I choose just to talk about the memories that I can consciously remember. And I've made contact with a few different beings. And for instance, the Greys, they gave me a lot of information about the hybridization program, and also our possible annihilation. And that's why the hybridization program is taking place. So we're not destined to kill ourselves off, but I was told we're on the path, but it's not too late to turn around. And then one afternoon in the middle of the day, I'm wide awake, and in come these two light beings, blue. I call them the blues. And they were the most loving beings I've ever encountered. The love that they exuded was amazing. I say it was stronger and more than the love that you feel from your mother. There's just no words to describe it. And the first thing they said to me was, when you look into my eyes, you look into yours. And then from there, they started giving me all kinds of beautiful information about our DNA, about activating our DNA, about personal empowerment, about oneness. And I'm not the only one getting these messages. There's thousands of us, if not millions of us, that are getting these messages. So what do we do when we get these messages? So at the time, it can feel like, oh, I was just given a gift. This message is amazing. It's going to change my life. And then reality hits. Well, if I tell my spouse, they're going to think I'm crazy. If I tell my mom, she's going to think I'm crazy. And all that beautiful experience gets jumbled up with fear and embarrassment. And I don't want experiencers to be embarrassed anymore. I was embarrassed for most of my life. Why should we be embarrassed of one of the most spectacular events that could possibly happen to a person, coming face to face with a non-human being? That's incredible. And yet we're like, oh yeah, but I don't want to talk about it. And so I want to break that stigma. I don't want that to exist anymore. I want experiencers to express, number one, to themselves, to come out to themselves, number one. You don't have to write a book. You don't have to have a global stage, but you do. It's very important that you come out to yourself. If you don't, you're hiding a very authentic part of your reality. And when you hide, you cannot find peace and fulfillment because it affects every arena of your life. It's not like you can say, oh yeah, I'm an experiencer. I'm going to ignore the whole thing. I'm just going to keep it out here. And then I'm going to try and be successful in my relationships, in my career, and my personal fulfillment. It doesn't work that way. It's all combined.
If it's all combined, as we got about 90 seconds to go here before we go to break, this topic will probably take us right past. If it is all combined, why are many people having horrific experiences with these creatures? I mean, there's a lot of people who feel that they're being kidnapped, that they're being tortured, that they're being raped, that they're being, treated inhumanely, and on the flip side, the exact same way we would treat any other animal that we've just discovered from the forest or from the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a wonderful question, and it has many layers to it. I used to think that the Greys were evil and horrible, and that they were victimizing me, and that they were toying with me and playing with me, and I did not like them at all. And that's because that was my perspective in life. I was viewing life through the lens of victimization. I had two abusive marriages, and that's the role I chose to play. I don't blame them. I realized that's what I accepted. And because of that, I just assumed the Greys were victimizing me too. Why not? And it wasn't until I was able to change my perspective through the personal introspection in my quest to be the most authentic version of myself that I could possibly be, I had to deal with this hurdle of the ETs. And then I realized, they weren't hurting me. They were helping me the whole time. There's also well-known experiencers.
Sev, save that for when we come back here on Spaced Out Radio, because I know we got a lot to talk about. Sev Talk, author, researcher, experiencer. We're getting into it all tonight on a world that goes way beyond this planet. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Stay tuned.
Is Dirty Filth a professional artist?
Yes. Here's something funny on Facebook. Hi, Lorian. She's like, don't forget to mention you are both going to be at UFOCon2023.com.
Yeah.
Yes, Lorian, we mentioned it right off the top. We spoke for like 5 minutes on it. We did. But that's what I love about Lorian. Just when you think she's not listening, she's creeping around. You mentioned it, you son of a bitch. She's saying, I know it.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Lorian Fenton, I would probably not be half as popular as we are today. We have a great team. We have a great show. We have a fantastic audience. But Lorian Fenton really helped solidify my name in the public with guests, with speaking at her conference when no other conference would take me. She wanted to have me, and I owe her so much to the success that we have had here at Spaced Out Radio. She has no clue how much, I could feel her head.
Yeah, I'm very grateful for her too. And I have the feeling that Lorian can sniff out bullshit, and I think she zones in on the people who are real and true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just love her to death.
Mm-hmm.
I do. And she is literally one of my favorite people in this field. And there's not enough kind words.
Yeah.
Not enough kind words of what I think about her.
Mm-hmm.
And
did she just say I'm blushing? Was that her?
Yes, that's her saying, I'm blushing. I'm blushing.
There's so many people in this chat. Wow.
Yeah, we're at 208 watching right now.
Oh, good.
So we'll see where it ends up.
Beautiful.
Yes. Yes. Thank you to Deb, Vaughn, and Twigbird for the super chats tonight. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you. I will put them on screen here so you get to all see them. Yes, there's one. There's two. Hi, _Maddie. How's your hair tonight? So, _Maddie, if you look at his picture here, he actually looks a lot like, oh, God, what's the guy's name? Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Oh.
Look at that. Doesn't he look like Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters there?
I can't see him. Where is he?
Right in on the screen here.
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do you mind singing us Hero or something Everlong or whatever? Could you do that for us, _Maddie? I appreciate that.
Thank you for that comment, by the way.
Twigbird, thank you for the super chat as well. Yeah. Come on, _Maddie, you and me. There goes my hero. Watch him as he goes. All right, there we go. Dennis Banky, welcome to the show. And John Jackson, welcome back. Thomas O'Keefe, good to see you. My brother Eugene Braxton, Anki, good to see you. Super Duke. Gentry Anderson, the lovely and talented Gentry Anderson. We've missed you around here. How are you, my dear?
Hi, Gentry.
I like her. She's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Zed. Yeah, Joey Zed. Not Z. Zed.
Joey Zed.
Yeah. Let's see here. Kaiju, welcome. Willow Thomas, welcome to SOR chat. Oh, I like her wording here. Look at this. Hi, gorgeous. Look at this. Hi, gorgeous people. There she is. Hi, gorgeous people. I love it. Love it. All right. We've got about 35 seconds. We want to remind everybody that you can get your tickets for UFOCon 2023 by going to UFOCon2023.com. Sev Talk is going to be there as one of the speakers. Science Bob is going to be there. Melinda Leslie, Robert Perala, and many, many more. I will be there along with my favorite Malcolm and Linda, who will be there hanging on out. UFOCon 2023. It is March 17th through 19th in San Francisco, California. Go to UFOCon2023.com to get your tickets today. Hi, Lee the Bee. How are you? Markham, thank you for the super chat. And don't forget, you can find Lorian Fenton and many others coming to our Vegas party May 19th through 21st. If Sev Talk wants to come, she can come too. Here we go with the second half hour.
That would be fun. Is Filthy finished?
Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag, and you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Author, researcher, experiencer, a lady with fantastic hair, Sev Tok, is with us tonight on the big show. And right before the break, Sev, we started getting into the power of experiences that people are having and how this is profound, how it's life-changing. How did it change for you when the aliens finally arrived?
Well, when I was 10 and I was in contact with them, it was a wonderful, beautiful experience. And there was one particular male being that visited me for a couple of years, and it felt like he was my brother. And when I was with him, it felt more real than when I popped back into my bedroom in the morning and I had to get dressed and go to 5th grade. And I was just really confused because all of that didn't seem as real as when I was with my space brother. What really changed everything for me was what happened here on the Inner Banks of North Carolina when I moved here in 2017. And I made contact with the Greys in 2 evenings, 9 days apart. And on each evening, they burned a red X into my tush. And that's what prompted me to finally face what's going on, because up until then, and many experiencers can identify with this. Often our experiences are dreamlike. They're not solid 3D. And because they're in this multidimensional, interdimensional consciousness world, and it's hard to describe, we really don't have a word for that authentic experience. And so some people call that a dream. And so when the 2 X's were put on me, accompanied by one of those dreamy-like experiences, but very clear, that's when I realized, okay, a dream does not put 2 red X's on my tush. So this is real. And then from then on out, I had to decide, what am I going to do with this? And I decided, well, I'm going to face it. I'm going to face it. I was scared to death. I'm going to face it. And Kathleen Martin helped me a lot. And I had already started on a spiritual journey. And so this was just a continuation of that. And so what that's done for me is now I'm out. And all the things I was afraid that was going to happen if I come out, none of them happened. I was really making up these worst case scenarios in my head. If I came out and I told people, I would lose clients and all that kind of stuff. So far, nothing like that has happened. People don't corner me and tell me that I'm insane or crazy. And I am allowing myself to live as authentically as possible. So what that does is it makes me a happier person because I'm really in tune to the connection between my heart and my mind. And as long as I pay attention to that that informational highway, I'm tuned in to what's best for me, what's good for me, what lights my fire, what gets me excited in life. And because of that, my life's completely changed. I'm much happier. The circumstances of my life are lovely. I have a few careers that are very fulfilling and exciting. And I feel like I want to get out of bed in the morning. I feel like I want to wake up. I feel like I want to experience life. And I really didn't used to feel like that before. I was just kind of faking my way through. But there were many times I didn't want to get out of bed. And that's all in the past. It's not like that anymore. And it was like that because I was hiding myself. I was in just complete denial of who I was, what I was capable of, and what I was doing. I was in denial of a very important part of my reality, which involves ETs. Not everyone's spiritual journey is going to make them come face to face with ETs, but mine did, and I had to deal with it. But many people do have that hurdle.
Many people do. And for you, you have come to accept the good, the bad, and the weird, the strange, along with your contact. But so many people out there have not. I remember interviewing a long time ago a lady named Karina Sables, who's been on many television shows up here in Canada about her experiences. And to this day, she can't hold down a job because her contact is so frequent that she can't sleep at night. She's afraid to sleep because not only are they taking her, but they're taking her family, they're taking her children, her grandchildren. And it's just been this horrid set of nightmares that she's had to live with and almost been punished by the last 20 some years. I mean, there are people who have had the other side too. Now, I personally believe that there are a bunch of different species that are coming down here that are checking us out. Some good, some not so good. But how do we decipher as people, knowing that we're supposed to be the alphas on this planet, and in reality, if there are aliens coming down, they have full control over what we do?
Well, I don't think they have full control of what we do. I think we individually have full control of what we're doing individually. I put the onus on each and every single person. I don't think they're controlling us. I don't.
There's so many others who would disagree with that. And
Yes, I
I
know.
agree with you. Trust me, I agree with you. I'm on team Sev on this one. Not just because you're here, but I argue the good part of this whole thing as well.
Mhm, mhm,
I've had one horrid experience that I refuse to talk about. And but the rest of them haven't been so bad. It's almost been like a wall of curiosity.
mhm, mhm. Just before we went to break, I was saying that there's some well-known, very well-known experiencers who've also changed their tune. Now, years later, they don't think that the experience was quite as horrible as they initially thought it was because now they can see that there was a lot of growth there for them through that experience, positive growth. And so I just remind everybody perspective is everything. Perspective is everything. What's your perspective? If you are walking around with the cloak of victimization, it could very well be that you can take a beautiful experience and turn it into a horrible one through your lens.
Very true. Easily as well. You
Mhm,
know, but there are people out there who've never had an experience, Sev, and they want that experience. And they're like, I don't care if it's good, it's bad, it's ugly. I just want to know that they are there. I want to know that they exist. I want to see them. I want to know what it's like to be abducted. And I always tell people, be careful what you wish for.
yes.
I mean, but for people who really are trying to create that type of experience for themselves, how do they do that? What is there a proper way?
Well, the easiest way is through meditation, because meditation allows you to enter a state where you can communicate with other beings and entities in the other dimensions. And it also has to do with your personal frequency. If you have a higher personal frequency, you'll align with higher frequency beings. And if you have a lower personal frequency, you'll align with lower frequency beings, just like we do on Earth. So it's really pretty easy to figure out what your vibe is like by looking at your friends and your reality and your situation. And so just like on Earth, we're going to align with light frequencies. When we go through the dimensions and through the galaxies looking for friends, we're going to align with similar frequencies too. So that's one thing. I do have on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit, a series that I created with guided meditations at the end, with music and my voice, to help people connect with otherworldly beings, whether they're spirit guides or dead people or ETs. Because if you're meditating, what happens is it takes you to that, I call it the playground of the consciousness, where all these beings are. So what happens so many times is experiencers, they come in contact with an ET, and the next thing they know, they're having a lot of supernatural and paranormal experiences, because you've entered that playground where they all are, where they all play. And so meditation takes you to that playground. I say that's the easiest way to make a connection.
Do you recommend when you're in meditation to really focus on the good parts, putting out that good energy,
Oh,
that positive
yes.
energy?
Yes, absolutely. It's crucial. Uh, I have had one scary experience with what I call an astral men in black. And it was attached to a friend who was staying a few days with me. And I woke up in the middle of the night. Did I ever tell you this story? I don't know. It's a pretty interesting story. So she came to visit me, and she was a spiritual teacher. And the first time at my house, and the first night we go to sleep, she goes into the guest room. And in the middle of the night, I wake up because she came into my room and she said, "I'm afraid." And she got into my bed. And I went, "Oh," and I was awake because I lifted my head off the pillow. I'm like, "Okay." And then I felt something behind me, and I turned around, and at the foot of my bed, just feet from me, was this tall black being. It was blacker than the blackness of the room, with like the fedora hat, the suit kind of thing, and it was exuding the most horrible energy. And the next thing I knew, I could feel its energy come out of it, and it came right into me. It felt like it grabbed me, and it was just trying to pull my essence out. And it was very scary, and it was very strong. And I just kept saying to it, "You got to go, you got to go. You can't do this. You can't have a piece of me." And like I would not let up. And it eventually went away. And that is a message that I'd like to share with everybody. You are in control. You are in control. I could see how easily this being could take over somebody, because it was so strong and it was so powerful. And it felt like we were engaged in this energetic battle. And at the same, so then I went to sleep after it left. Woke up in the morning, go down to the kitchen. My friend comes down, and I'm like, "Did anything weird happen to you last night?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah." Mhm. And I'm like, "Okay, what happened?" Well, the same time this was happening to me, even though she claims she didn't come into my bed, she said, "Well, I woke up in the middle of the night and I looked out the window's over the water, and I saw in the sky a hologram of Jesus Christ, or I saw Jesus Christ. And I heard in my voice, 'We can do this. We can create holograms, put them in the sky, make it look real, and make you think whatever we want you to think.' At the same time, I'm dealing with this astral men in black. So I think they're combined. Neither one is a good experience. What do you think about that? Because we've heard stories about a fake invasion.
I think that a lot of times they play to your fear. I
Yeah.
really do believe that they play to your fear at times. And it's something that I never really understood. because in the end, I think we hold power, but we forget that, and they use that
Mhm.
forgetfulness to their advantage.
Yes.
I remember one time when I was taken, I was and I've got about a 5-second glimpse, 10-second glimpse of this entire event where I was standing and there was 5 grays around me, and they were all the taller 5.5 to 6 foot grays. But I remembered how weak they were and how one had a hold of my left hand. And I remember the one saying, "Oh, blank, he's awake, he's awake, he's awake." And I shook my left hand free and I punched the one that was standing right in front of me. And it felt like I was punching a bag of silicon
Mhm.
or rubber or like soft rubber or something along those lines. And I just remember watching that one go flying into this darkness. And the next thing I know, I was out again. And I wake up in my bed and I'm like, wow,
So
you
you
know,
punched one.
I
Hmm.
have punched
I
one. I
heard
have.
about other experiences punching. Mhm.
Yeah. The bad experience that I had, I'll go to the end of it where I saw the little dude who did it to me, um, who was there. I'm going to assume he was there operating on my eyes or my back or whatever it was. And what scared me was as he was walking down the hallway, and I'm sitting there yelling at him, screaming, all hell bent revenge at him. He was followed by a little baby,
What?
and like a toddler who's just learning
Um,
how to walk.
yeah.
And the only thing that I knew it was a boy. And what I remember of that toddler following him was the diaper. The diaper was luminescent green, like a glow stick type of green. And there were black and luminescent red veins running through the diaper.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I saw a four-legged being that had its skin was so thin. Chris Bledsoe saw the same beings that I did. He lives just a couple hours from me. A being with white skin, and it was so thin that you could see the veins and everything through the skin. That's very interesting.
I know this was a diaper because it was a full on baby standing right
So,
there.
any thoughts about who that baby was?
I've gone under hypnosis with Geraldine Orozco about it.
Okay. So you have an answer for yourself?
I have an answer for myself,
Okay,
which should be obvious to the audience.
good. Mhm.
I'm just not ready to admit it.
Yeah, well, I felt the same way when they showed me a baby in a tube, and, I felt something was behind me, and I turned around, and there were 3 grays, tall, medium, and short, and this is before I knew they came in different sizes. And I had a MILAB experience after that, where they explained the different sizes to me. But anyway, when I was looking at this baby in the tube, I felt absolutely nothing for it, nothing, and, its eyes were open, it was the bluest eyes I've ever seen, and even though its legs were positioned where I couldn't tell what it was, I knew it was a boy. And then when I came to in my room, I'm like, "Ugh, I'm just going to forget that." And then I was reminded of that by the Grays when I had my experience in Roswell. And even now, it's hard for me to say that that baby had something to do with me. And I've also been asked to heal sickly babies. It was kind of a MILAB experience. And were those babies attached to me? I don't know. But even though I've had all these experiences, it's hard to say. There's just some things that even though you know they're real, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but why do you think there is a hybridization program going on right now?
Well, what they told me in Roswell was that they have billions of embryos and there's millions of people involved, many of whom don't even realize that they're involved in the hybridization program. And so I just got information about the program between the grays and the humans because I think there's others. I think there's also some that involve humans, and I think maybe those are the ones that are making the sickly babies. Uh, but going back to what the Greys told me, they said that they were on the brink of extinction because they no longer had the ability to be empathetic or sympathetic, and they lost that ability. And so the hybridization program is with human beings, for the most part, who are very loving, who tend to wear their heart on their sleeve, and also, for the most part, people who have stronger than normal psi abilities. And so these embryos that they're designing are very loving, very kind, very intelligent, and very psychically strong. And there was a worry in the galactic system that maybe a negative group of beings would get a hold of all these embryos and turn them into killing machines. And I was told that these embryos are so loving and so kind that they would make rotten killing machines. And so not to worry about that. And the embryos are being made to reseed this planet if we annihilate ourselves. And we're on the path, but it's not too late. We can turn around.
Oh yeah, we can definitely turn around. And you know, I have a lot of faith in humanity when it comes to that. You know, I like to see the good side of life. I've learned that from my buddy Random Guy. But the idea behind the fact is we got about 2.5 minutes left, that they are taking embryos, they are taking sperm, they are potentially creating a future society if necessary. Is this something that they would do strictly on this planet, or would they go to another planet that's in a Goldilocks type zone and set up humanity there, or are they already?
Maybe, I don't know. I don't have personal experience in that, but it would make sense. I mean, why not?
What about those who have this happening through MILABs or MILABs?
Yeah, and so I have about 5 or 6 conscious memories of those too. My first conscious memory happened the very, very, very first time I talked to Kathy Martin. She was so kind. She spent about an hour and a half with me Skyping, and that was one of the most important conversations in my life. And I told her I was scared of the government, having them knock on my door or tap my phones or something. And she said, yeah, that happens. It used to happen a lot more than it happens now, but it happens. And after our conversation, I called my mom, and a few minutes into the conversation, my landline just went dead. And it never died before, it never died again. And I'm like, oh my God, it's the government. They know me, they know me. And even then I was like, well, all right, the cat's out of the bag. If it is the government, what am I going to do now? Like, I'm not going to quit now, even though I had no idea that I was going to write a book. I had no idea what I was going to do with any of this information. And then that night, I had a MILAB experience where I was taken into a room because I remember going downstairs, and it was very government-like, drab colors, not much furniture. The men are always the same in their 20s or 30s, short hair, drab clothes. And I was taken to this poster. And I made drawings of this. It was a poster of a flight path of a spaceship. And it had a bunch of formulas and mathematical equations. And I have a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Loyola. So I took a lot of science. I don't remember what any of the formulas are. And the man standing next to me turned to me and asked me, when does the spaceship arrive at its K point? And then I found myself in my bedroom. I don't remember what I said.
And on that note, I'm going to get a hold on right there. We're going to continue with the MILAB talk when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Sometimes we've got to build a little drama going into hour 2. And we have that with our guest tonight, Sev Tok, author, researcher, public speaker, experiencer, Yeah, she does it all in the UFO field. And we love her around here. Sev Talk will return for hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio, where we'll get into MILABs and whatever else comes up. Your questions as well. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio right after this. All right, we are clear.
Wow.
Let's see what Dirty Filth has up for us here. Oh, Dirty. Mr. Dirty. What do you have for us?
1947. Is that what that says?
I'll be right back, guys.
It's going to be the 1947 original. So 9 silver UFOs
Ah,
over Mount Rainier.
yes. Thank you. What do you do with these after you paint them?
Take pictures of them, share them on the internet.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, they'll go in my second book.
Oh, your second book. What was your first book about?
Just a bunch of cartoons about aliens and everything that I've been drawing the last couple of years.
Oh, really? Oh, I'll have to
Sasquatches.
check that out. Is that the name that you go by?
Filth? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So if I Google
Obviously,
Dirty Filth, I'll find you.
if you just go to filthy.com with 2 Y's, you can find me. Oh, look at that right
Okay.
there.
Oh, there we go. Okay, good.
There's all my cartoons in my book, and my calendar is on there and everything else. So.
Wow. All right.
This is a good show tonight.
Thank you.
I'm lucky too. The cats haven't harassed me very much. So
Oh, you have cats too. I have cats.
there's 4 of them in my little tiny orchestra here.
4? You have 4 cats? Oh, that's so nice.
Well, technically 2 old cats and 2 kittens.
Are they strays?
No, they're all from farms though.
Farms?
Yeah, like a country farm.
Yeah. You have 2
'Cause-
kittens. Hmm.
Yeah, they're causing a ruckus right now, but that's okay.
Oh, they
They'll
are.
survive.
Can't hear them.
Oh, I don't like this brush at all.
Oh, what kind of paint is that?
I use watercolor for the background,
Watercolor?
and I'm
Okay,
just using some acrylic for the
Okay.
for the craft
Mm-hmm.
to make them as shiny as possible. And the acrylic just makes it pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
Trust me, it'll look good once I ink it up. It looks like a blob of nothing right now. Excuse me. Oh yeah, if you come to the Vegas party, I'll give you a little free piece of artwork. I made like 1 million art cards, and
I
I'm just
would
gonna
love
hand them out to people. And
Yeah.
when I went last time, I was just handing them out to people on the elevator. It's like, what are you here for? I'm like, UFO party. They're like, oh, just like walk away. Didn't even blink an eye. But then again, it's Las Vegas, so there's all types of crazies there.
That's nice of you to do that. I would love to go to one of your parties. Do you put your cards into print?
Not the art cards; those are just 100% unique, and
Mm-hmm.
I just hand those out. There's only one ever made of each one.
Oh, okay.
But you can buy prints and junk if you ever want any. I got hundreds of paintings on there. Maybe not hundreds, but actually maybe close to 100.
Wow. And when did you start painting along with the interviews? Because you weren't here the first time Dave interviewed me.
No, that was last July, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Dave's like, "You want to go on the show?" I go, "Oh, I got nothing to say." He's like, "No, I mean draw cartoons." I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, I can do that."
It was such a good idea. It's so different and it's so cool. Such a clever idea.
Well, it gives something. It's interesting because people just get to see the progression from sketch to final end product.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually something about aliens or UFOs or whatever. Was that like the man in black at the bottom of your bed?
A little bit, yes. Let me see what that says. Knock, knock. Am I be at my door? Oh.
So if I go for break, I'll put that down sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feed my cat snacks. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good picture of you.
It's got my hair is totally accurate, Dave.
100% accurate. You having fun, Sev?
Oh, yeah. I'm having a really wonderful time. You know, what is it here? 1 a.m.?
For me, it's 10:05 right now.
Okay, it's 1. I think it's 1. But I'm wide awake.
Good. Good. We'll push through for another hour here and have some excitement and fun. It'll fly by.
Yeah,
Fly by.
yes.
Oh, yeah. I want to say a big thank you to Deb, Vaughn, Twig Lord, Eric, and Random Guy for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love. So both Sev and I will be in San Francisco March 17th through 19th at UFO Con 2023. A plethora of great speakers there, including Science Bob, Melinda Leslie, Robert Perala. We'll all be there hanging on out. I will be there too. You can get your tickets at ufocon2023.com. We'd love to see you there. And we'd love to see you at our Las Vegas fan party at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, May 19th through 21st. Hang out there with us and come party with a bunch of friends. That's what we're doing. We're going to have fun. So let's get hour number 2 underway right now.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Ubi. Ubi is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Yep. It is that time where we bring back our guest, Sev Tok. She is an experiencer. She's an author. She's a researcher. She is someone who helps those who are going through some major UFO and alien experiences themselves. And there's nothing more that she wants to do on this planet than to help people out. Sev, thank you so much for being here tonight.
My pleasure. I love being with you and your listeners and your viewers.
Thank you.
I'm reading the comments, and Penny says that she's never owned a cat, but I love black cats or blue kitties. Did somebody else say that they've only owned black cats? Because I have black cats, and I've had very supernatural experiences with my black cats. For instance, one time I dreamt that my cat was in the closet. So I woke up and I called for her and she didn't come. So I got out of bed. I went downstairs. I knew exactly which closet it was. There were several. I walked right to the closet. I opened the door and she came out. So what was that? Did she come visit me in my dream to tell me she was stuck in the closet? Because she's done that before. Every time she's stuck in a closet, she tells me she's in the closet because she's black and she just goes in there and you don't even see them. I love cats, love them. I love all animals. I love dogs too. Cats are extraordinary, but there's something a little different about black cats. They seem to be more plugged in, although cats are so plugged in, but black cats are a little different. But I'm not prejudiced. Like, I love all cats. They don't have to be black for me to love them or to own them. And there's also someone else here who said that they think they might know me. It's Twigbird 60.
Well, there you go.
So it feels
Yeah.
like I know you. You mean energetically or personally, or I don't know. Do
We'll,
we know each
we'll find out.
other?
We'll
Okay.
find out. That's the beauty of having a live chat room while we do this talk and have these shows. We'll find out. We will. Right before the break, we were talking about MILABs, which are called military abductions. That's what it's short for. Some people who have had these experiences claim they are absolute nightmares and have
Yeah.
experienced some absolutely horrific thing. Have
Mhm.
you ever figured out what the purpose of these MILABs are?
They feel like a debriefing because experiencers are given information about the hybridization program, about scientific innovation, about spiritual concepts that are very self-empowering, and other information too. And I feel like we're debriefed, and this information is used. In the 5 or 6 memories that I have, 2 were bad. One was just god awful because I was mentally tortured. It was just terrible, absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible. Uh, and They wanted me to do something that was psychic in nature, but I wouldn't do it because I knew that only bad things were going to come from it. So I refused. And when I refused, I was just mentally tortured. And I don't even want to talk about what happened. Not quite ready to talk about that. Actually, the MILAB experiences have been the hardest for me to come and talk about publicly. I just recently started talking about them because it seems like when human beings are involved, they just make everything gross and worse. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had a number of people who have talked about this subject on the air. Samantha Mowat, Melinda Leslie, Misha Johnson, Lorian Fenton, and many others who have spoken about these MyLab events. To me, I want to dig into this just for a little bit here. Not so much about your experiences, but the overall understanding of this. From what I'm understanding, do you think this accounts for many or the real hidden secret behind UFOs, that maybe the government does know what is going on and does have an inkling of who's being taken and who isn't?
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if this is a US government. I don't know who these government types are. I have no idea. But whoever they are, they're very well aware of what's happening. But I don't know who they are. They're speaking English. They seem American, but I don't know if it's our government, some other secret group. I have no idea. But they know. They absolutely know. And I'm sure that that information is shared. I really do think that if not our government, then maybe an organization higher than our government knows who the experiencers are.
Do you think there is a list somewhere that could tell who's been taken and who hasn't? And if
Yeah.
so, how would they get that list?
I don't know. I don't know how they know. I do not know how they know. See, that's the other thing about, well, now talking about the United States government, we all know that they've been involved in psi warfare for years, doing all kinds of secret government programs exploring the psi world and psi abilities. And so can they also enter that playground of consciousness that I was talking about and mess with us? Is that what that astral men in black was? Was that something sent from the government through the consciousness? They know how to do that? Maybe they know how to do that.
I don't know. This is something that is, in my opinion, still one of the biggest question marks that we have regarding the subject. The only thing we really know about it is that people are experiencing it. And it's uncomfortable for a lot of people to even speak about, because it is happening to men, it is happening to women. It doesn't matter what religion you are, what how you grew up, whether you were affluent or completely dead poor. It really doesn't seem to matter. But these experiences that people are having regarding this, where they see people usually men in military type uniforms, and sometimes they will be followed up with conversations with, very angry, grotesque looking reptilian or mantid type beings that would scare the daylights out of anybody. I mean, it's just like it's made to be absolutely horrific.
Yeah, and it can be. So most of my MILAB experiences were neutral. So I've had two that were bad. One of those was wretched. One of the neutral ones, which I mentioned earlier, was I remember twice I was in this room and I was sitting at this table and I was looking into the room across from me because there was a partition of a glass window so I could see in it. And there was a guy standing next to me, and a tall gray was brought into the room across from me. And he said, "This is the original gray." And then they took that one out and they brought in a shorter one. And he said, "That's the hybrid of the original." And they took that one out and they brought in the smallest one. And he said, "That's the hybrid of the original." And with each one, sentience lessens. And so it was obvious that the tiniest one was much more robotic in nature. And that makes sense because those are the ones that a lot of people see. And they're really specimen gatherers.
Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by specimen gatherers?
Well, the ones that come and grab specimens, whether it's flora, fauna, or something off of our bodies.
Right. Right. So for you, when you have talked to people who've had these type of experiences as well, how has their situations differed from yours?
The MILAB experiences?
Yes.
Almost all of them are very, very similar. Uh, um, there's an experience that I don't have a conscious memory of, which many people have experienced, being in a cave or being underwater. And they're in a very busy environment. Katie Grabowski experienced this, where she was in, I think she said she was in a cave-like area, and there's ETs there, and there's human beings there, and there's a lot of activity there, and everybody has a chore to do or a task to do, and everyone's really busy, and work's being done, and it's like a well-oiled machine. And I've talked to several experiencers who've had that experience. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're doing, but that seems that it's MILAB oriented as well.
Wow. Wow. Have you ever had any MK Ultra type experiences
Not that
to
I
go
know of.
along with this?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, that's something I wouldn't want. No. No. Let me back to the MILABs for a quick second. Do you believe that maybe they are part of some secret space program?
Possibly. I don't know who or what this group is. Anything's possible. Just about anything is possible.
You really want to find out?
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I'm saying, like, is this something that you would love to find out in the ongoing mystery of it all?
Yeah, I want the answers to everything, no matter how difficult. And even if the answer throws everything that I believe out the window and I have to change what I believe, okay, fine, I'll do that. But I just want the answers. People ask me, why do you think the two X's were put on your tush? And I think it's because that's where our Kundalini energy resides. And when your Kundalini energy is activated, one thing that happens is that you have got to know the truth. You've got to know the truth about yourself, and you're just driven to know the truth about everything. And that's what happened to me after those two X's were put on me. I was like, man, I'm on a path of authenticity about everything. I want to know the truth, and I will deal with the truth. If I don't like it, I'll deal with it.
Can you deal with it alone, or do you need a team around you?
Oh, it's always good to get help. It's always good to get help. So after the second X appeared on my body, I had an existential crisis, and it was then the first time in my life that I admitted that I needed help. And I didn't know who it was going to be, but I just figured I'll just let it organically happen. And it happened to be Kathleen Martin. And I really recommend people reach out. It's so easy these days to get help. It's ridiculous if you don't get help if you want it, because it's so easy. It's not like it was 10 years ago. There's so many Facebook pages and so many other people who are helping experiencers that help them for free. It's really easy to find. And so please, please have someone help you. Or you can go to MUFON and you can have someone from MUFON assigned to you, and they'll help you too. Also, the experiencer resource team, which I'm on. I'm also on the executive committee, and the experience resource team deals only with people who've made direct contact with an ET. And
who's got aliens out there? Who's got aliens? Bring them to Sev. Bring them to Sev. If you got aliens, she wants to see some of them aliens.
Yeah,
it's
do.
Just that simple.
Yeah.
Just that simple. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Hey, we've all got aliens out there somewhere. You know, that's what it's all about. I want to get to some audience questions here because I want to get them into the game here, if you don't mind. And let's start off with Eric here. Is there a way to reach out and initiate a contact experience?
Yes. Hello, Eric. Thank you. Through meditation, I find is the easiest way to make contact with non-human entities. As I said earlier, I don't know, I'm not sure if you heard it or not, but on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit, I created a series of 3 videos that talks about the importance of the quality of your energy. That's going to determine your experience or how you perceive your experience. And I also created guided meditations with music at the end of each of those videos that helps you communicate with another worldly being, whether it's an ET or a spirit guide or a dead person. But meditation is the easiest way to initiate contact.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to Amy here. Can you please come forward and share how we can heal and love?
Individually?
I would assume that has to do with our alien friends.
Oh, she's talking to the aliens?
Yeah.
Oh, she's telling the aliens, please come forward and share how we can heal and love. Yes.
Yeah, I think
that's good. I love that, Amy, because that's what they're doing. Yes.
How do you love an alien when they sneak into your room at night and don't even tease you?
Well, some people welcome those visits. They're not scared by them. You know, for up until just a few years ago, right after I wrote my book was the first time I was able to look at the cover of Whitley Strieber's book, Communion. Up until that point, there was no way in hell I could look at that book. I couldn't read anything about UFOs. I didn't know anything about UFOs really when I talked to Kathleen Martin, because I stayed away from everything. I didn't even know about MUFON. I wouldn't watch anything. I wouldn't read anything. I watched Close Encounters and I watched Star Wars, but I didn't want anything to do with it. It was just hit too close to home. It just scared the hell out of me. Now I'm the exact opposite. Whereas before, if I walked through the house and the lights were off, I would close my eyes because I did not want to see what was there. Now I walk through the dark with my eyes open. And that for me is a big deal because I'm like, okay, if you're here, like I can take it. I can see you. Just let me see you. I'll be able to take it. I can deal with it now. And I didn't used to be like that.
There you go. And let's go to Wham Bam Ham. Can we contact them through our dreams and astral projection?
Yes, that's a very good question. Thank you, Wham Bam Ham. Absolutely. Just like through meditation, because you can achieve astral projection through meditation as well. It's just whatever it takes. Meditation is the best way to get there, to get to that place where you're focused in the other dimensions. And so you can hear, feel, and see interdimensional, multidimensional information. And so you make contact with interdimensional, multidimensional beings. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Excellent. Have you ever astral projected?
Yes.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. Have you?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was one of the times I was sitting on my couch meditating. This was when I was living in Baltimore, Maryland. And all of a sudden this lady appeared. My eyes are closed. She appears right here. And this energy beam opened up. And she said, would you like to follow me? And I said, okay. And I didn't recognize her. So we both go through this energy beam, and I end up at the ceiling at the top of a hospital room. And I look down and I see her get into the bed. And I see my friend, my good friend, and her brothers. And I realize it's her mom, my good friend's mom, whom I had never met before, but she had been in a coma-like state for years. And so I said to this lady, oh, I'm not going to say her friend, my friend's name. Oh, you're Susie's mother. And she said, yes. And I said, oh, you just died. And she said, yes. And then ding, I pop out of it. And 10 minutes later, my girlfriend got in touch with me and she said, my mom just died. And I didn't say anything to her at the moment. Later, I told her what I experienced. And she really got a lot of peace from that, because to her that meant her mom left her body before she was in too much pain, and that made her feel good.
I remember telling a friend of mine when I was astral projecting. She was a major into astral projection, and she's like, okay, I want you to come over to my house. And okay, so I go over to her house, astral project over to her house, except I had her house reversed. I thought her back door was her front door and the front was the back. And so I remember opening the door, looking to my left, and I'm explaining all this to her on the phone. I said, I see your cat. I said, I see your cat sitting on the couch and it's staring into a blank screen on your television. She goes, well, good. The television's off. She comes back and I said, well, where are you? She goes, I'm in the kitchen. So I make my way to the right, see the dining room table, and then go into the kitchen. And I said to her, okay, I see you at the end of your counter. Are you ever going to throw out those rotten bananas because they look disgusting? And she says, well, actually, I'm making banana bread tomorrow. So
that's extraordinary, Dave. Was that in a meditation? How did you get there?
Just astral traveling.
Yeah.
Meditate. Meditate in. Yeah. Meditate in.
It's relaxing. That detail that you saw is really something.
Yeah. The bananas just makes me laugh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the rest of it.
It's pretty dangerous. You can go and enter into anyone's home or into anything. Why don't you go enter into the government offices and report back what's going on?
Well, I would do that, but my friend Random Guy would slap me across the head because I'd probably get myself in trouble. And he's kind of my unicorn bodyguard on that end.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Random. Yeah, so I do have to be careful with that. We got 1 minute left. Let's go to T2E here. When we were talking about aliens earlier and the abductions, she says, well, what if you don't want to play with the aliens?
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that you are always in control and you just demand that it end. The problem is often we demand that it ends, but we don't mean it. You have to mean it with every cell in your body and it'll end. Kathleen Martin also says this, and this is because we believe that our higher selves are in play, and you determine what you're doing from that perspective. If you want it to stop, you just say, I'm done. I'm finished. There's nothing here further for me that I want to explore, and it has to end.
And on that note, we're going to end this half hour. Hard to believe we're already 90 minutes in. We have Sev Talk, author, researcher, experiencer, public speaker of anything UFO and extraterrestrial. And she will be appearing with me at UFOCon 2023. Go to UFOCon2023.com. Meet us in San Francisco, California for the big event, March 17th through 19th. We're going to have a blast talking some aliens all weekend long. Tickets on sale now. Spaced Out Radio continues with your questions right after this. Stay tuned. Woohoo! There we go. We are clear.
Was that it? Are we done?
Oh, we got half an hour.
Oh, okay. That painting looks really good. Or that watercolor. It's beautiful.
Well, let's bring Dirty Filth in here and explain kind of what he's got here. The 1947 original. Oh, those are the UFOs flying through the sky. I thought those were moons.
Yeah, they're those UFOs. So I think
Kenneth Arnold's seen those 9 discs floating over the mountains there in Washington
How
State.
you did the mountains.
Probably could use a little more snow.
I love it.
It's too late now.
It's really good.
Thanks.
Yeah, Filthy's pretty talented. We like him around here. We do. Even though he's got webbed feet. Even though he's got webbed feet, we still like him.
It helps with the swimming.
Yeah.
True. Very true. Filth, are you going to go down the slide into the pool this year that goes through the Shark Tank at the Golden Nugget?
No.
Yeah, you don't. You're like a cat. You don't like getting wet.
No, I just don't like pools very much. I go to the pool. When I go swimming, Dave. I go with all the old people.
That's funny. What do you mean you go with all the old people? Where do you go?
Well, I just swim back and forth in the pool.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Most of the old people just sit in the hot tub and everything. So
Right.
get the pool to myself. I want to get one of those things you can put on your back and it looks like a shark fin and swim around the pool and scare people.
I have
Thin Lizzie says you lick yourself clean as well. She saw you do this in Vegas.
Oh my God.
More than likely.
Did you charge for that?
Everybody gets one for free.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Wow. Random guy says Golden Nugget has some of the best urine in it. Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Well, couldn't have been any worse than the West Edmonton Mall swimming pool that they got there.
Yeah, but they got the water slides that are there too.
Those are terrifying.
I would totally do them.
I did them once when I was a kid. Never again, Dave. Never again.
Oh, you're that guy though. You're scared of your own shadow.
I am. I'm a wimp.
But
Are you
one
an
hell of an
experiencer?
artist.
Filth?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Are you sure?
I'm pretty normal.
Okay.
Look at Tim sneaking around in the back there.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a few minutes left here. Let's see, where are we here? I'm just monitoring the chat room here.
Yeah.
James H, welcome. Well, let's see here. Like this. There we are. Hi, everybody. We are still here. Let's see. 241 people. Do me a favor if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. It really, really helps with our algorithms. Makes our channel stronger and better. Makes people actually want to watch our stuff that we produce. Apparently. That's what all the million view people say. So I'm buying into that. Well, let's see here.
So, Dave, when's the wrestling match? We can witness Avni Volador get beaten up.
Avni Volador.
Wrestling match.
It's terrible. It's a terrible human being. He is. You don't want any of him, Sev. When
Who?
El Ovni Volador shows up, good morning, Commonwealth Andrew. When El Ovni Volador shows up, he gets really potty mouthed.
El Omni. Okay.
Yeah, El Ovni Volador. By the way, Dirty Filth, I do need to talk with you about the plan that I kind of had pop into my head for Vegas that I thought would be really cool.
Well, just use the old Dirty Filth sky signal and I'll come talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Just flash lights up in the sky.
Thank you to our super chatters, Deb, Vaughn, Twigbird, Eric, Random Guy, and Susie B. And here we go, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go, everyone. We are talking with Sev Talk. We have her till the top of the hour where we are going to get into all things UFO and strange and weird and astral traveling and whatever else takes place. She's an experiencer. She's a public speaker, researcher, author, and helps people with their really, really cool ET experiences. And let us say hello once again to you, Sev. We have you till the top of the hour. Thank you for coming here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Mm-hmm. You make me laugh so much.
Why?
And even your talk at the symposium was funny. You're just a funny person.
That's because I'm overweight, so I use humor to compensate.
What?
Just kidding. Okay,
good.
I'm kidding. Half kidding. But nonetheless, the worst part about it is Paul Hynek, good friend of yours and mine. He's not funny.
What is it with you two?
Well, it goes back to 2020 when, and we got to get Paul Hynek back on the show. He hasn't been on forever.
Yes.
I love him. It goes back to 2020 when we were doing this thing at UFO Con called Liar Liar. And this game that we play for prizes. And Paul just kept on getting louder and louder and louder. And then he was trying to be funny. And it was like watching Whoopi Goldberg try to be funny. Certain things are impossible. And so when it got to UFOCon 2022 last year, I went and put in a couple of slides in my my speech, reminding people that Paul Hynek wasn't funny and don't laugh at his bad puns. And then so Paul the next day fired back at me during his speech and put my head on top of an alien body and said, "This is what Dave Scott really looks like when he takes his clothes off." And so when we got to Denver and Paul was there and Paul was sitting in the stands, and I had to remind him that, he's just not funny. And so it's this, the thing is people take it seriously, but it's all in great fun.
Yeah.
All in great fun.
Mm-hmm. It is funny to hear you two just kind of take jabs at each other in front of everybody.
I
Mhm.
had so many people coming up to me after Denver. Do you and Paul Hynek not get along? We get along great. Well, what was all this
Oh,
stuff between you? Oh, that's just joking.
yeah.
That's just
Yeah, you
joking.
can tell it's through love,
Oh yeah. He
respect.
is he's a brilliant, brilliant man.
Yeah,
Very
he
brilliant
is.
man.
He's nice too.
Hmm.
He's a nice
Let's
guy.
get, let's get to more audience questions. Donna Spencer, who we love around here, we call her Sweet Donna
Yeah.
Spencer. She's like, "What about those black-eyed kids? What do you think's going on with them?"
Yeah, Donna, hi. That's a really good question. I don't recall seeing any, but I've talked to lots of people who have. So some people think that those are hybrid children. Some people also think that the black eyes are like sunglasses or a shield to cover their real eyes. And so, are those hybrid children with black eyes, or are those hybrid children that have to wear the shields over their eyes? I don't know, but those are some of the thoughts that are out there. I don't know. Has Donna seen a black-eyed kid? Who is it? Somebody. I know a couple people who have told me that they've had actually black-eyed kids come up to them, knock on their door. I think Stan Romanek even said that too. I've never met Stan, and I don't know where the UFO world stands with Stan. But I think he also had that story.
All right, let's move on to Kaiju here. Sev, do you know if the Roswell crash did in fact happen?
No one's ever asked me that question before. No, I do not know for a fact that it happened, but I believe that it did.
All right. There may be some people in our chat room who know what happened, but they're not going to say anything. Weirdos. Let's see here. Let's go next to. Well, let's stick with Kaiju here for a second. Second question: do you have implants?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
You mean
I've
you've
had
never woken up on the table and felt them cutting you open, like in the back of your head, and you lay there and scream while they are pulling your skin forward on your forehead? Nothing like that, or is
The
that
other night I watched Fire in the Sky with my boyfriend because he had seen it before, and Travis is going to be at the convention, right? Is Travis going to be at the
I don't think Travis is there this year.
Oh, okay. And so that what you just described reminded me of that, although he says that that was grossly exaggerated. I do not know of any implant. However, I do occasionally have geometric shapes burned into my body.
Especially on your buttocks.
On my buttocks and on my thighs. That's where all the activity takes place. I don't know why.
I
Something
think
in
it's
the
cute.
lower part
Well,
of the body, I guess, needs
look,
help.
obviously the aliens like your booty, and they just,
I don't know. It's just,
maybe.
I don't know. It's weird. I will tell you, you know how your body gives you signals when
Yes.
someone tells you something about whether they're telling you the truth or not. And so if someone tells me something and my thighs start to tingle, I'm like, oof, that's truth. That's my signal, is a tingling in my thighs. So there's something with that part of my body that is really relevant to my experience and how I perceive things and how I receive information. I don't know why.
Gotcha. All right, let's get to another question here. This one from Lovey Love. How could someone know if they were a targeted individual, either by human agencies or aliens or demons?
How could someone know? Well, chances are that you're having some kind of memory about it. That would be my answer. If you are, in fact, I don't know what you mean by targeted individual, but if you are having experiences by the human agencies, ETs, or demons, you have most probably had some kind of experience that you can consciously remember. it's really hard to have those kind of experiences and not have an inkling. Most people have an inkling, but they don't want to go there.
All right, let's move on here. A couple of questions from Eric, who's asking, so in order to make contact, we basically have to suspend ego and conscious mind.
Suspending ego is always a good thing, but no, there's no reason to release the conscious mind. Because I call it the playground of the consciousness, where we meet all these beings, where we're all connected through consciousness. So no, you don't want to escape your consciousness. If you could, even, I don't even know if you can escape your consciousness.
Follow up from Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
What do you think of Robert Monroe and the Monroe Institute?
Yeah, hypersync.
Sure.
So lately, do you know about the hypersync meditations?
I've heard them, but I've never done them.
They're pretty cool. I've recently started doing them, and they're really remarkable. So I haven't really investigated a lot into Robert Monroe, the person, but of course I know of the Institute, and I think it's a very interesting place. I wish it wasn't so expensive. It's very expensive to go and try and learn. But from what I know about the place, I think it's remarkable and a benefit to society, what's going on there.
Excellent. It really does open your mind. It really does. Mark is asking, Sev, do you think they, being the aliens, guide our paths in life?
That's a good question, Mark. Thank you. I think if you allow them to, yes. If you allow them to, if you want them to, if you ask for their guidance and their higher knowledge, yes.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Let's go to Christine. Oh, Dave, how did you learn to do that? Oh, that's the astral travel part.
Yeah.
I just did it. Meditated and did it. Said, this is what I want to do.
Wow.
It's that simple.
You didn't take
simple.
a class or anything. Yeah.
No.
Good. I'm glad to hear that's how you did it. Good.
Yeah.
Everyone can then.
You know what, though? A lot of my own personal experiences, I just found out that I could do it without knowing how.
I love that. Because
Don't know why.
Can. Because you innately can. We can all do this.
Don't know why. I'll give you an example. Tim, our news guy, him and Terry Hall had a motorhome up in Utah. They were setting up, trying to get some shots around Blind Frog Ranch and capture some video of UFOs. And I was sitting in my studio right here at night, listening to our after-hours show on the YouTube channel. And I called up Terry. I didn't realize it was 11:11 when I called. I said, Terry, you need to do me a favor. I said, you need to take your cameras and point them. I said, go to due north, and then like a clock, go to between 11 and 11:30 and put your cameras up at this angle. I said, you're going to catch something. Now I'm in British Columbia. They're in Utah. And they started filming. And there were 4 UFOs that were in a diamond shape. Then moved into a triangle, then a pair, and then morphed into one and disappeared. Just like that.
How did you get that download of information?
I just knew.
It was just the knowing? Did you see
Just
something?
knew.
Hear something?
No.
Just
No.
knew.
Just
Well,
knew.
how did you know to trust it so much that you gave those directives?
Because I've turned everything around to the point where if I didn't, I didn't want to be like one of those, damn, I wish I would have said something. I had too many of those. It's like I'm the kind of guy, I can predict things, but usually, like if I'm betting on sports, I usually predict the loser, never the winner. And yeah, it's weird. Like the other day, last weekend for football, I predicted that both, Cincinnati and San Francisco would win. They both lost. Bet against me, what I'm saying. Bet against me to make money. No, but on a serious note, I mean, our good friend in our chat room, Eric Markham, him and I were talking on the phone. Oh, this going back 5-6 years ago now. Him and I were going back on the phone, and we saw, you take one of those flashes in the sky, and that flash happened probably 20-30 miles away. And while Eric was on the phone, I kept on saying, "Can you come over, fly over my house?" Flash. Can you keep coming closer? Flash. Where are you? I don't see you. Are you on your way to my house? Flash. And it kept moving closer and closer until I think on the 19th, 20th, or 21st flash, it was right over top of my house. I'm like, Eric, I wish you could see this right now, but he was on the phone with me while I was doing it.
Could you see it, or was it just the light?
No,
Was it
just
an
the light.
orb?
No, it was nothing. It was just nothing there, and then flash. Then nothing there, flash. Nothing there.
When was the
flash.
last time you had an experience?
What kind?
ET contact, excuse me, or seeing a UFO?
October, late September, October. I saw a triangle morph in the sky.
Morph?
Yeah. So we were out at our Sasquatch area in the middle of nowhere in the forest, and I turned to see who was walking up behind me. It was my partner. I asked her where our son was, and she goes, "He's in the back of the truck." I turned and looked back up into the sky where I was looking, and there were two white orbs sitting there in the sky, right where I was looking. And there was only about 4 or 5 seconds in between me looking, there's nothing there, turning, looking back, and there's two orbs sitting in the sky. And then the third one appeared to make the triangle.
Oh my God.
And those jerks knew. Those jerks knew, because the minute I went to pull my phone, because, everybody's always like, what about proof? We need proof. I don't believe your proof. What is proof? Your proof sucks, right? Those people. That's like 98% of ufology.
Yes.
And so I literally pulled my phone out of my pocket. I'm going to get a picture of this thing. And as soon as my phone came about 2/3 to 3/4 out of my pocket, the two bottom lights blinked out, and the third one started to fade away.
Yeah.
They knew. They
Yes,
knew.
that's happened to me too. Yes.
They knew. But that was my last UFO experience. A couple weeks after that happened, we saw a 10-foot Sasquatch in the forest. Same area.
I've
that
seen
was
one
cool.
too. I didn't know you've seen one as well.
Oh, I've seen 3. I've interacted with
Wow.
a couple others.
What do you mean by interacted? Like communicated?
Well, we didn't know at the time, but we got chased out of the forest by them. We got chased out of the forest. They didn't want us there, and it was like hearing the Sierra sounds. We heard them talk. We heard the one talking to us.
Ooh, I just got chills. Wow.
Yeah, the one was talking to us.
Yeah, my thighs are tingling. It's the truth.
I don't mess around with this stuff, man.
Oh my gosh.
You know what, though? I will say the scariest, and I told my audiences to, in between the UFO sighting and the Sasquatch sighting, there was one weekend there where we went up, and we went up at dusk, and there were 4 of us, me, my buddy Mark, my partner, and my son. And the minute I turned up our logging road, now I've been up and down this road 100+ times. Okay. And I know this road like the back of my hand. And that time, the minute I turned on that logging road, I was feeling dread, complete dread. And everywhere I looked on that road up to our Sasquatch spot, I would look on the side of the road and I would see pareidolia in trees and in bushes of alien gray heads. And it was so scary. We were there normally we go there for anywhere from 2 to 5 hours.
Wow.
On a night. And that night we were there for 40 minutes, did not let my son out of the truck, didn't trust it, kept my truck running and the doors open. Only time I've ever done that. And none of us left within 10 feet of the truck. Like, it was so scary out there. And all of us were picking up something like, there is something bad out here today.
Bad.
Bad. I think personally, in talking to a few intuitives that I know, and I'm kind of leaning this way, but I think there were aliens in the forest that day that weren't too pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And if we would have stuck around, some bad stuff would have happened. Because it even felt like we were being followed out of on our way out.
Mm-hmm.
Got a few more questions here from our audience. Let's go to Beachy. Starseed children, are they the same as dark-eyed children?
That's such a good question. There's so much terminology these days. Starseed children, maybe to some people they are the same thing. Maybe to some people, a starseed children are human children that have activated ET DNA. I believe we all have ET DNA because we all come from the stars, and some of us have activated more of our multidimensional ET DNA than others. Is that what a starseed child is? I don't know. It's a good question. I can't keep up with all the terminology these days between the indigo children and the this children and the that and the that. I don't know.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Thin Lizzy. Do you recall any past life memories for yourself?
Yeah. Thank you, Thin Lizzy. Yes, I do. I've been able to go into meditation and see some of my past lives. I also went to regression once because I can tell my clients what a past life is. I call them consciousnesses because I believe all of our consciousnesses are happening at the same time. So I really don't like to call them past lives. So I can tell my client what one of their lives is, but I can't take them there. I'm not a regression therapist, so I can't get them to feel it. Sometimes when you feel that life, it's very therapeutic. So when I was living in Baltimore, I was looking for someone who could do regression therapy that I can refer my clients to. So I found out about someone, and I went to her, and I had it done with her. And that was an interesting experience. I cried. I mean, you really live it. You are there. And it was profound, and it helped me heal some things. So I remember them consciously through meditation, or even through that state right before you fall asleep, and also through regression therapy. Thank you for asking.
Right. Let's go to Susie. So we got 2 minutes left. What is the purpose of them showing you windows of events? Are they meant to be remembered?
Thank you, Susie B. What do you think she means by windows of events?
Well, a lot of times extraterrestrials will show you things that have happened or could happen, like you were saying, and she's wondering, what do you think that means?
Yeah, messages. What is the event? Is it in Africa with all the little kids? Oh, what is the name of that event?
Yeah.
And the little kids were shown pictures and were told to take care of the earth. So they're messages for us, showing us the inevitable if we don't take care of the earth, and some other things too. They're definitely messages and lessons.
Final question from our audience tonight from Nancy. Permanent marks, do you think they're like branding you?
Well, the red X's went away. The geometric shapes, everything's gone away. I had skin missing, even skin that was missing on my body has come back and grown in. So I don't have anything left. Everything seems to go away. I don't have anything permanent that I can see, that I know of. As far as the branding, maybe it's a branding, maybe it's an activation, maybe it's a healing. I don't know.
I don't know either. Sev, do us a favor. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
Okay.
And when you're going to be speaking at UFO Con 2023.
Thank you. My book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, is right here. Endorsed by Kathleen Martin. She's graciously did that, is on Amazon. My website is planetsev.com. And one of the reasons I named it Planet Sev is because I actually have a planet and a star system named after me in the Star Wars galactic system. And my planet was mentioned in one of the recent episodes of Star Wars Andor. I am on YouTube, Alien Spirit, Instagram, Facebook. I can't think of anything else. I will be at UFO Con in San Francisco in the middle of next month. I will also be at the McMenamins Festival in Portland, Oregon.
Nice. Sev, we love you around here. We will talk to you very, very soon. What a great show with Sev. Once again, she's one of my favorites in the UFO world. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Then our resident Timbit returns for the UFO report. We'll be right back. Great show, Sev.
Oh, thank you
Great
so
show.
much. You're so gracious. You really are so gracious. I love you, Dave.
Love
Thank
you too. Love
Okay.
you too. Eric would like an autographed copy of your book. Eric, if you get a book, I will get it autographed for you in San Francisco, and then you could just get me back in Vegas.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll do that. That works.
Thank you so
That
much.
works. Well, we'll let you get some sleep now.
I'm not going to sleep now. I'll probably be up for another hour or two.
Love it.
All
Much
right.
love.
Okay.
Much love to you, my dear. We'll talk and
Bye,
see you soon.
Sophie. Okay, bye.
Later. Sev Talk, everybody. How awesome was she? How awesome was she? I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. And then pretty soon, it's little Timmy Senor time. He's freshly shaved his bald head just for all you tonight. We'll be right back. All right. We're almost back. All right. Hey, remember, you only have until April 1st to sign up for our VIP for the Vegas party. Yeah, we want to see you all there. I think we got about 60 people so far that are coming. About 60. We'd like to see around 100. So if you haven't already, let's get you going. You just check the ticker down below. And if you're listening on podcasts, you could go to info@spacedoutradio.com and you can make things happen for yourself. Excuse me. Yeah, because we want to see you all there. We do. Yeah, little Timmy Senor will be there. Yeah. Timmy's looking good. Hi, Skip to Malou. Nice to see you. Thank you to our super chatters tonight. Blue Cruz, Susie, Random Guy, Eric, Twigbird, Vaughn, and Deb. I say, Timmy, are you sticking around for some Random Guy after? All right, I'll send him the old link here. For the after. Remember, we will go to overtime for a little bit here at the end of the show. That way you guys get your Random Guy fix. Hi, Coral. How are you? All right, here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on that beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to say hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. UB is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night, once again, where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another spooky journey.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. My name is Bree. I am a 21-year-old female and I live in a small town in northern Ontario. The stories I'm going to share all took place in a house my family and I lived in until I was 13 years old. None of these stories are in chronological order, due to how young I was when they took place. The first story I will share was with my younger sister Mac, who was 2 years younger than me, and at the time I was about 6 years old. We were playing outside one summer day. The wind was blowing particularly hard, and our mother was watching us from inside the house. To give a visual of the layout of our home and yard, our house was known as the backward house, since it was built backward. So, our mother was able to watch us while doing dishes in the kitchen. There was also a massive hedge separating our house from the neighbor next to us, and there was a considerable distance between the hedge and our home. My sister and I were not playing any games, just running around and having fun as kids do. Suddenly, out of nowhere, I and my sister froze like statues. We both looked at each other and simultaneously looked at the space between our home and the hedge. To our surprise, there was a woman there. She was wearing a beautiful long green flowing dress and had equally beautiful, long, wavy red hair and was very fair. She seemed to float rather than walk and seemed fixed on where she was going. As quickly as we noticed her, she vanished into the basement wall of our home. My sister and I then took a look at each other, and honestly, we both looked incredibly puzzled. I did not want to say anything to her at first, because my sister was known to copy me, and I did not want her to say she saw something just because I had. After a few seconds of silence, my sister with tears in her eyes said, "Did you see that?" All I could muster out was, "Uh-huh." We then ran to our mom, sobbing that some old lady had just floated into our home. My mom, not wanting to scare us, said, "Maybe it's your guardian angel, stopping by to make sure you're okay." That seemed to ease our nerves a bit, and we were soon back to playing around like nothing had ever happened. As I got older, the experiences in that home seemed to become more sinister. My bedroom had been moved into the basement, and I remember regularly seeing a dark shadow crouch in the corner of my bedroom at night. I had nightmares every other night and had a constant feeling of being watched all throughout the house. My mother would later admit to me, once we moved out, that she was even afraid to walk around the house at night and fears something being around the corner. Another story I remember vividly involves my brother, who is 7 years younger than me. My brother Gio at the time was about 2 years old. We were sleeping together. It was extremely late at night, and for some reason, I just could not fall asleep. "Bree, do you see it?" "See what?" I reply. "The eyes," he whispered. "What eyes?" I asked, to which he points behind the door. Obviously, at this point I'm crapping my pants. I try getting him to repeat what he said, but there was no reply. I quickly picked him up and brought him into the living room with me, where we both slept on the couch. I have many other stories about this house, but I will end it on this one. I remember somehow I built up the courage to play downstairs by myself with my littlest pet shops. I was in my toy room that was attached to the laundry room in my dad's workshop. I had set up all my things in a little circle to make a town, and I was sitting in the middle of it. At the point this had happened, I was sitting facing the houses that were up against the wall. The light in the room I was playing in was placed above and behind me, so if someone walks in the room, a shadow would be cast on the wall I was facing. So as I was playing, I had an overwhelming urge to look up. When I did, I witnessed a shadow move from the right of me to the left of me, heading out the door into the rec room. My first thought was, well, maybe my dad was in his workshop and I didn't know. So I look up and out the door and there is no one there. I look back down at my toys and realize my dad is a bigger guy, and I would have heard him walking, and I would have seen him in the time I saw the shadow looking out the door. I book it up the stairs and get the hell out of that basement. As I said, I have tons of more stories that I will submit in the future. Thank you for sharing my story, Swamp Dweller. And if anybody in the comments has had any similar experiences, definitely let me know.
And that's why we love the Swamp Dweller around here. It takes us on another spooky journey each and every time when we hang out with him, kicking off Monday through Friday nights, hour 3 on this show. If you want more from the Swamp, all you got to do is go to his YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads, hit subscribe, and you have lots and lots of stories there for your picking. Yeah, it is good. What also is good is we head to the swamp, from the swamp to the stars. It's a little Timmy Senor in the UFO Report.
Nobody's going to know. They're going to know.
Yes, we love it when little Timmy Senor joins us for a night of woo around the world. And how you been doing, buddy? Good to have you back.
Good to be back. Thanks for having me. So much fun tonight listening in on Sev Talk. She's great.
She is amazing.
And
She is amazing.
You brought up the night of the UFOs that we had this summer. And in fact, I saw little Gentry Anderson in the chat. She was actually a witness to that. That was an amazing night of UFOs that you brought in on us.
Still don't know how that happened. It's incredible. Incredible night.
Yeah,
it was weird. It was weird. It was weird. It's one of those things that, a guy like Random Guy would say, yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Hey, we were the right team for it to happen to. I mean, we captured it on all kinds of
I
data.
still haven't seen that. I still haven't seen that film, by the way.
There's still so much to go through. I have hours and hours and hours of stuff to weed through still.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see what you guys saw.
I'm excited to show it.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you're here. Glad it's going on. Glad it is going on. All right. We're going to start off over in Russia, where not only is Vladdy the Putin talking about, launching some nuclear weapons against the West, which, by the way, Vladdy, not a good idea. Not a good idea to bring the whole world down on you. Because I guarantee you, Vladdy, if you press the button, you're not getting out of this alive, no matter how many of us you take out. Seriously, you're not getting out alive. And your people don't want that either. But nonetheless, Vladdy was apparently buzzed by a UFO. Imagine that. Imagine that. With their antiquated technology over there, do we really think it was a UFO? I don't know. I really don't know. But what do you got on this, Tim?
Yeah, let's discuss. So Vladimir Putin was buzzed by color-changing UFO spotted by 4 independent Russian planes as he makes his speech that was incurring threat of nuclear war against the West. So mysterious objects spotted changing colors during the Volgograd visit. This was Putin marking the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Stalingrad, and the UFO sighting occurred during the speech during the exact point where he was discussing the escalation of nuclear war. And so pilots in multiple Russian planes reported a UFO buzzing the Volgograd area when Vladimir Putin visited the city on Thursday. And so the extraordinary accounts say the unidentified object was changing color and height in the sky. And so a report by Telegram channel said that the UFO was seen and reported to the aviation authorities by crews of 4 separate passenger planes. And so Putin had flown to Volgograd under close security to attend ceremonies linked to the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Stalingrad. And the incident came as the dictator hinted at the conflict going on and escalating out towards the West. And he said, we don't send our tanks to the borders. And then suddenly during his speech, these lights were discovered flying just above the dictator as he was continuing on through his speech. And so the channel continues to report that the crew of an Airbus A321 of S7 Airlines operating during the Sochi to Moscow flight was 12 minutes before reaching Volgograd at an altitude of 10,000 meters, reported that they observed an unidentified flying object at right angles to the plane to the left side, and the object was changing color and height and the direction of movement. And so the channel monitors air incidents and added later the crews of the Aeroflot S7 Airlines and a separate flight, the Rosoya Su-635-8 flights confirmed that this information was occurring after flying near the Volgograd area. And so both reports came in at the same time, followed by 2 more reports from other independent flights, both giving similar explanations and descriptions. And so the timing of the other sightings were not precisely revealed. However, the sighting was around 3 hours after Putin's arrival and occurred as he took part in the commemorations. So it was quite a saber-rattling speech, and it often, can take place in these, rocky times. But very interesting that the reports came in not only from the from Putin himself and his crew that he works very closely with, but an independent flight crew from 4 separate flights. It kind of lends a little bit of reality to the potential of this being something not of this earth. But again, a lot of information is hidden behind that curtain of information. So, Dave, please, your first thoughts on this.
Well, a couple things. I mean, if you are celebrating, you know, 80 years later, the life of Stalin and Stalingrad, it really shows what kind of a jerk you are as a human being. Stalin was not a nice person. This is a guy who had no problem killing his own people through World War II and other conflicts that were going on as he, built up the communist regime. All right. Not a nice man. So if you're celebrating him, you need a good shaking. Okay. Second of all, Vlad, I'd fight you on the ice. I would. I know you love hockey, Vlad, but I want to take you into a corner and I want to pop your head off like a zit. I do. I'd body check him. I would. I have no problem with that. Third, here's what I think. There is a lot of really, really cool stuff in the sky that we don't know about. And to me right now, considering the tension that Russia is bringing the world right now on wanting to launch nuclear weapons at the West and just kind of go a little haywire, something tells me that there are some birds in the sky that may be hidden from the public who are just patrolling over there, knowing that the Russian radar can't do anything about it. And I don't think he saw UFOs. I think he saw something that basically, if he wanted to act smart, could have done something seriously damaging to him. That's what I think. There are not a lot of people on this planet right now who love the 2023 version of Vlad the Impaler or Vlad the failure in Ukraine, But I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of his. I wouldn't want his autograph. I wouldn't even hug the guy. And I'm a hugger. Still like to take him out on the ice, though. I'd trip him. I'd cross-check him. I'd spear him.
Right.
I would.
Right.
I would.
I do find the 4 independent reports coming in from the flights interesting because that information potentially is real, and those reports were real. And the fact that 2 of them came in at the same time and then the following 2 came in after, I still feel is pertinent and potentially lends to credibility. I mean, obviously, this is one of the few reports that have made it through. We've heard one other report coming from Russia earlier that potentially described some UFOs, but I believe was triumphantly shaken down and squashed. But hopefully, we consider them because, historically, Russia has had a lot of interest from UFOs, and they haven't really been too discreet about those stories. They have leaked quite a lot of UFO reports historically. So there's no reason to doubt that this is potentially a real UFO report. And so I find it interesting just simply because it comes from independent aviators, not just one report. The timing I also find interesting because, yes, perhaps there was some interest from the UFO at this time, why not? I guess is my
doesn't that sound too coincidental to you though? That here's Vladdy acting tough, all right, knowing his missiles will never get through because he's still using those old things from the 50s, and all of a sudden there's UFOs flying over top of him, watching him. I just think that is something that, and me, man, I'm always about the aliens. I love the aliens, but I've learned a lot since Random Guy came into my life. I really have. And I would say that it probably isn't from outer space, but you know what? The technology that is probably being flown around that we don't know of is probably so advanced we wouldn't recognize it as anything else but a UFO. So I just think that, when Putin or somebody along that ilk that is causing a lot of havoc in this world, I really think that they're watching him 24/7. And if he's out in public and he is out, making statements, they're going to try and freak him out a little bit. I really, really do I really believe that. They're going to want to freak him out. They're going to want to put something up there that he has never seen before. And they're going to hide it as a UFO. But in the end, they're probably sitting inside the Kremlin right now. Oh, what was that? What was that? What was that? We've never seen that before.
Right.
The aliens, they don't like Stalingrad, or the aliens were partying with us, whatever. He can think whatever he wants.
Right. And obviously to report the other side of this story, obviously there's so much propaganda that comes from that country. It's hard to weed out the truth from propaganda potentially. And this UFO story could obviously be one of those hype page turning sort of clickbait, if you will, to get some attention to the actual speech that he was giving on this day that was so important to him, celebrating.
Did they say what the shape of these craft were? Did they look like boomerangs? Did they just look like orbs in the sky? What does the report say they looked like?
The description was simply that they were lights, color changing, going from blue to red, which is not typically ideal when it comes to UFO. Obviously, our friends in the know typically tell us that these colors are flight of some sort of our own, excuse me. And so I find that significant also, that these are some of the signals that would send up a red flag that it's ours. However, I just want to go back to the fact that 4 Russian planes were considering this a UFO and reported it such, and so this was in a controlled airspace. So it would have been something that they wouldn't have had on their radar. And it does go into some of those details in the article from the Daily Mail. But some of the other highlights there are that, these objects were color changing. And so that is typically a red flag when it comes to UFO. Again, so little information and so little data, really, it's hard to tell. But again, like you were saying, are people in the know, and guys like Random Guy, here he is right on screen just saying that's not a UFO. So, we need to consider the report behind the report and why is that happening.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, as we got about a minute to go. I mean, there's so much propaganda coming out from both sides on that. And let's just face it, we know it's getting ugly over there. Ukraine just said that they've lost over 150,000 soldiers and people so far in this bloody conflict, and we don't know how many Russia has lost yet either. But I mean, the whole idea behind it is this: we just got to be careful with everything that we read out of there, and this is now the 3rd report of UFOs that we have heard, 1 from the Ukraine and now 2 from Russia in regards to UFOs. And hey, we do know that there's some strange things that fly over battlegrounds during the wars, and it might not, it might be ours, it might not. We don't know. I'm tending to think blue and red lights. That sounds very, very earthly to me on that. Very earthly. But who am I? Who am I? Little Timmy Senor will be right back with the UFO report after this break. And we love it when Tim is here. When we return, we're going to get into a U.S. Navy fighter pilot saying he witnessed UFOs, and then UFOs and science. Oh, yay, my favorite topic, Tim. Thanks. Spaced Out Radio continues with the final half hour right after this. Hi, Derek Galloway. How you doing? And hi, Wim A. Nadeau. I'm going to assume that's William A. Nadeau. And who else popped in here? I'm just going to be honest. I think it's the American government just messing with them. I really do. If I was in the U.S. shoes right now, knowing that, you know, he's in one hell of a predicament. He's in an unpopular war. His peers aren't fans of his, but they're afraid of him. His country people are protesting and getting thrown in jail by the hundreds every day for protesting this. They don't want it. Nobody wants it. He's only going off his own ego right now, right? Trying to reform the old Soviet Union. And us Ukrainians are fighting back. He didn't expect that. He thought it was 1918 all over again. Bastard.
Here's you, not political. Love it.
I'm sorry.
I'm sure.
I'm sorry.
You know,
do you know why?
No,
do you know
please.
Why?
I do know why. And this is an excellent platform. Please express.
Okay. My great-grandfather left Ukraine at 14 years old because he watched his brother and his brother's friends get slaughtered by the Bolsheviks in the Bolshevik Revolution. They were killing all the young men so that way they couldn't fight against them. Okay, so my great-grandfather at 14 years old, him and his buddy had to hide their way down to the Crimea, to hop on a boat to get to France, to hop on a boat to get to England, and they had to stow away in order to hopefully survive to get to this place that they heard of called Canada, where all the Ukrainians were getting free land or close to free land. Okay, because Ukrainians and Russians were some of the only people who knew how to farm in those type of temperatures. Okay, so my great-grandfather and his buddy, not knowing a word of English, not even knowing how to talk to people about their name, hid themselves until they got to Vegreville, Alberta, okay, where eventually my grandfather was born, my great-grandfather was born. I don't know my relatives over there. I don't. This is personal, okay? And, you know, I'm just going to bite my tongue there.
Please.
Because I don't.
Here's you know what, man? I see we only have a little bit of time before we go back, but I'm going to tell you, there are two little Ukrainian boys in my daughter's class, and they don't speak English perfectly, but my daughter totally immediately befriended them, and they're the sweetest kids, and they're exchanging artwork like daily. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I feel like we're reliving a lot of what you're expressing in your family history.
Absolutely.
Right in front of our face. And it's so important to be aware of that. And so please, anytime you can bring that to the forefront, you must, because that's a beautiful story.
If it's funny because my great-grandfather never in Canada during World War II, you had a choice. You could go to when you were drafted, you could go to the war, you could go to the mines, or you could go into the bush camps. Okay. My great-grandfather made his, he had 4 sons. All of them were drafted. Okay. And he begged each of the sons, not because of what he saw from the Russians, he begged all 4 sons not to go to war. That's why I'm alive today. Okay, because of my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was so destroyed by what happened, he ended up committing suicide at 55 years old when his buddy who he stowed away with died young in a tractor accident. Okay, and so my grandfather, being depressed over that, offed himself. And I look at it as that brave kid at 14 years old is the reason why I'm here. Okay. And then I'm going to be 50 years old this year, and I've never had to deal with any sort of stuff like that. Man, I told my dad, if I was 25 years younger and I didn't have any kids, I would go over there. I'm that angry about it. And I don't even know why. But I could be standing right beside a relative of mine. I wouldn't even know. I don't know anybody on that side, because how would I? It's been 100 years, right? So, but it's one of those things that it's personal. And I think a lot of Ukrainian people are feeling it's personal. So either way, here we go. Rounded third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the UFO report. Tim Senor is here for a little bit of fun in the dark, talking some UFOs, and a U.S. Navy fighter pilot says he witnessed a UFO and now is stomping his foot on the ground saying, Congress, you must reveal the truth. What's going on here, Tim?
That's right. Ryan Graves has contributed to The Hill in a new article as a former U.S. Navy F-A-18 fighter pilot who witnessed unidentified anomalous phenomenon on a regular basis. He puts this article forward in his request in the government and former presidents and members of Congress, both political parties and directors of national intelligence, hopefully in the object of demonstrating that there are extreme capabilities routinely flying over our military facilities and training ranges that we don't know exactly what they are and are unable to mitigate their presence. And so this concern is being pushed forward in this article and hopefully getting the attention of a lot of people, not only in The Hill and on The Hill, but in this recently published article. He goes over a lot of his objectives and hopes to represent that UFO and UAP potentially represent a hazard to flight safety. And the report also preserves that the last year's review of the 26-year reporting period, that some UAP may represent advanced technology. Nothing unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities can explain. And so mysteriously, no UAP reports have been confirmed to be foreign so far. However, just this past week, a Chinese surveillance balloon shut down air traffic across the United States. And so how are we supposed to make sense of hundreds of reports of UAP that violate restricted airspace uncontested and interfere with both civilian and military pilots? Now, here's the hard truth. We don't know. UFO and UAP are a national security problem, and we urgently need more data. And so we go forward here asking, why don't we have more data? And Ryan Graves likes to believe that it's because of the stigma and the fear that has been attached to this topic. And so the first active duty fighter pilot to come forward publicly, he is talking about all of the regular sightings of UAP and how they are so often and active. He looks forward to possibly getting some support from further people that may come out in witness protection. And he is talking about the next ODNI report and how he hopes to see a little bit more transparency. However, he summarizes that his sentiment in Congress is still, as Senator Kirsten Gillibrand expresses and summarizes in the sentiment, that in Congress, well, there are so many of us now in the Intel Committee and Armed Services that we are going to stand by the service members who documented this stuff. They have it on video, they have it on radar, they have it on heat sensors, they have everything. And so with all this new data, hopefully they are going to push this forward. Now, again, we understand that this is kind of pushing the threat narrative, and that is a little bit of a danger to a lot of people that haven't seen actively any real threat. And so let's just consider that as a result of the 2023 NDAA, it requires an audit of all government involvement in UAP since 1945. And hopefully, historically, we may get some records to support this. And so how are you feeling on this new push to get this in front of the hill and this narrative that we're kind of seeing come forward again? It's kind of at an inflection point. What is your opinion?
Well, I'll tell you, I actually tweeted Ryan Graves and he never responded. And I asked him this: where's the threat? Show us the threat. All right? Show us the threat. And he never responded. Because here's the thing. Ryan Graves is a brilliant guy. He is very well known. He's very smart. He's very educated. He's got some very strong people behind him regarding his new UFO research. And I think it's great. Okay, but like Sev Talk said at the beginning of this show, we don't need more nuts and bolts. Okay? What we need, if you're pressuring the government and you want to pressure Congress to get to the bottom of this, disclose. It's not about eyewitnesses. It's not about military witnesses. This is a world problem. And in my opinion, there are too many people going around and around in circles saying the same things just out of different mouths and different voices and different personalities. The fortunate part for Ryan Graves is he has, because he's a fighter pilot, was involved in one of these situations where he saw these Tic Tacs on his radar, but I don't believe he actually saw them with his eyes. Okay. Here we are hearing the exact same thing that Elizondo said, which is the exact same thing as Mellon said, which is the exact same thing that David Fravor said, which is the exact same thing that Alex Dietrich said. Explain to me if I'm wrong. I'm excited about it. Don't get me wrong. We need pressure, and people like Ryan Graves need to provide that pressure. But what are you pressuring on?
I think that
nuts and bolts.
Well, yeah. So I think that this article makes it very clear that it is literally the nuts and bolts that is concerning, that we're sharing airspace with a question mark. We don't know what it is, and we need to know what it is. I don't think that they're putting any positive or negative. It just exists, and so potentially we could fly into it. It could be in our way. We don't know. I did, however, find it a little disconcerting that the Chinese balloon was mentioned in this article, because that's not UAP. That's not something unidentified. It is in our shared airspace, and so it is a concern, but it shouldn't be considered UAP. And so I was a little bummed to see that. However, I do like to see that attention has been brought, and it is potentially being segregated.
I would like to see a guy like Ryan Graves take it all the way. Okay? Get rid of the nuts and bolts BS. Okay? Because until you have a ship, you got nothing. All you have is data. You have physics, which you could do mathematics on. You have a number of other types of studies you could do, but it's all data. Unless they actually have part of a crash retrieval. Unless they do. And that's what they're studying. It's what we need to know. Okay. And I believe that Ryan Graves, considering his position and the people he knows and the people he's involved with, I really do believe that he knows a lot more than what he does. And for calling on Congress, Ryan, why don't you just tell us what you know? Tell us what you know.
Right. Well, he's also collectively doing a new podcast that he interviews other witnesses. And I feel like I can see him drawing together a database that he can publicly point to, as factual, the same way we are kind of looking to draw and create a history now, something that digitally we can access, something that is not only publicly accessible, but accessible to people that need to know it in the Congress or in the public for that matter. But it's all the same information. It's all the same witness information. So there can be no discrepancy and there can be no conflict, right? And these are all very neutral people that are military. And then, yes, they are using a buddy system, to find people that they trust, that they can come out and talk on this. And I feel that whistleblower collection is going to become more and more important. And even shows like Jeremy Corbell's Weaponized, that is going to become a database of these interviews of credible witnesses that we can point to in the public purview as being a database of information.
Let me ask you this, okay, because you got me kind of fired up here, and I know you do it on purpose. All right, you're a jerk that way. And I mean that with all love and respect.
You know me well.
Okay, but let me ask you this. What's more important? Dots and nuts and bolts, dots in the sky, nuts and bolts, or how a guy in British Columbia can phone you up in the middle of the Utah desert and say, point your camera at this angle and film right now.
Right.
And you guys film some incredible UFO footage because a guy in the middle of the nowhere, British Columbia, asked you to look in that direction. What's more impressive?
They're equal. They're equal.
How?
I mean, to the eye of the beholder, they're equal. In my opinion, they're both significant and real. Now, maybe it was more real to me because I lived it and more real to you because you lived it. But on paper, I think they're both significant. Now,
you have a government who is lying to you about a threat narrative. There is no threat. The Canadian government has come out through their Department of National Defense and said there is no threat to Canadian airspace. Okay, Canadian airspace is pretty much the same as U.S. airspace.
right. But I mean,
Okay.
you're saying that
Hold
like
on.
you know it.
I do know it because that's the facts. Okay, threats bring money.
Okay.
Okay, threats bring zeros on a budget. But the point that I'm getting at here, Tim, is this: nuts and bolts can't tell you how an individual, rang you guys up on the phone, rang Terry Hall up on the phone to say, film now.
Right.
That, to me, is more impressive than whatever the government is trying to hide from us. I want to know how that happened. And it's not the first time it's happened to me. It's not the first time it's happened to other people. Okay?
Yeah.
I want to know the story. We got somebody in our chat room right now, and I'm going to bring her up, Nicole Sakic. I'm going to bring up her incident where she got called and summoned to her favorite UFO spot a couple of years ago. And she was asking, "Where are you? Where are you?" Okay. And this thing started dancing in the sky for her, I believe, or flying on by, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Okay. She had a feeling that she had to get home.
Mm-hmm.
She got home. This is a true story. She'll tell you this story herself. She got home. Her dog doesn't meet her at the door. She finds her dog cowering upstairs with dog urine all over himself, like he had been petrified, scared. So after she cleaned that up, right, wondering what is wrong with her dog, and gets her dog calmed down, she goes down to her area where she studies her UFOs, her little office on her kitchen table. You know what's sitting on her table? Rocks from the quarry where she got summoned to. There is a pile of rocks from that quarry sitting on her kitchen table. So the question is, how does that happen? I'm not worried about 68,000 miles an hour. I'm not worried about fighter pilots telling us the exact same story from a different jet, okay, as eyewitness testimony. I want to know how those rocks got on Nicole's table. I want to know how I am able to tell you from nearly 2,000 miles away to start filming between 11 and 11:30 on the skylight, and you guys are picking up UFOs. To me, that's the phenomena that needs to be studied, not some false threat narrative because there is something buzzing your jets, or we want to play science with them.
Right.
This is well beyond science.
Right. Right. And it's so important to bring in that new kind of science into it because, believe it or not, Dave, we were able to capture the experience that we had with you from multiple data points. So we do have that experience and we have the data for it. But is it of interest to anyone but my work group and you and I? Probably not. And so what I'm saying is that our information, although it's massive and interesting, it doesn't hold the same value as something that is massively public and provable by the military, let's say, or our government, and that the Pentagon has verified that this is our video. And they can say, we don't know what it is, but it is UAP.
Do you really believe that the U.S. government would allow people to understand that they could summon craft?
Well, at some point, it's going to become obvious. That is a big part of it. And I think that a lot of work is being done to express that there is that consciousness connection. It seems like from what the media kind of projects.
Sure, but that's not going to be. But Tim, you're naive if you think that's going to be disclosed.
Okay, right. No, that's true. You in a certain level of media, it is out there already. But in mainstream media, is like the Journal going to report on that consciousness connection anytime soon? Is the government going to say that that is something that's a reality? If it's not provable, I don't think so, because it would just be torn apart. The government is all nuts and bolts, as we know, and it's not going to stand behind just theory. It's very hard to prove consciousness even exists, right?
Okay. But here's the thing, Tim. They also did TTSA did a great service of segregating UFOs from aliens or ET contact. They did a great job. Okay. Because they were able to somehow figure out an answer that if it isn't a single human being flying that craft, okay, nobody's in control of it. Nobody has a remote control from a desert hut in the middle of Nevada, or in the middle of Russia or China. Okay, then who's flying it? Something or someone has to be flying it. If they're not human and they're not from this planet, What are they?
Right.
Because according to your government and Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and all the so-called DOTS experts out there, we can't say it's alien. But if it isn't human, what is it?
Right. That question hasn't been elevated publicly by any organization that I'm aware of. I don't know why, but everyone seems like you're focusing on here. Everyone is talking about proving it to themselves in a very nuts and bolts fashion, before they can even elevate the topic to the next level of, so, your crowd, our crowd, understands that it already exists and they've already thought this through, but we are still waiting for the Pentagon to admit that this is real and then ask the next question.
Absolutely.
And
Nuts and bolts is safe. It's safe. Okay.
Yeah.
It's putting New York Yankees all-star fielder Aaron Judge up to bat against a pitcher at the Little League World Series.
Right.
Judge is going to take him yard every time.
Right.
Okay. That's just the way it is.
Right. It's going to take someone kind of like Gary Nolan to push the envelope a little bit further, where he has the respect of the community and he can push that question. However, it's a big question and you need to keep it very simple. You can't water it down with anything like, could it be from here or another dimension? You need to be very clear.
Down, though.
Well, I think okay.
Explain. Damn it, we only got about 20 seconds left because we're going to start a great debate there for a second.
As per usual, we're squeezing
as
it in
per usual.
wire.
Darn it, man. Darn
Sorry,
it, Timmy.
Buddy. It's fun to chat.
You do it to us every time.
Didn't even get to our third story.
Yeah, we'll save the third story for a couple of nights' time when you're back. This is why I love you, man.
It's been fun.
This is why I think you're great. You open up a lot of eyes to the conversation. And even though we may not see eye to eye on everything regarding UFOs, not UAP, okay, I think you bring some great game to the table, man.
Thanks, buddy.
You bring some great game to the table, and we encourage all of our audience who's watching on YouTube and Twitch, stick around for some overtime. But for the rest of you, especially those in radio and podcast land, we have to say goodnight to you. So we'll let you know that we got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAM, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us. Because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. I forgot to hit stop. Woohoo. Where's that random guy? Bring that random guy in. Random guy.
It's
random
Monday,
guy.
so
He'll stick a needle in your eye.
it's the Little Bo Peep outfit, right? If it's Monday.
Oh yeah. It's always Little Bo Peep on Mondays for him.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if NSA guy's name is Dave too. Just
They're
like
all
you.
named Dave.
We're all named Dave.
They're all named Dave.
All NSA guys are named Dave. It's the name I was born with, believe it or not.
You look like a Dave, Tim.
I was born David. Believe it or not.
Ross Dog's Broken Spirit, how you doing? Hey, random guy, how you doing?
What's going on, gentlemen?
There he is.
I got a question for you, random guy.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with your King Kong Bundy type of underwear that you wear.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me about a rash that you had that you couldn't get rid of.
No, but I'll tell you
Caramel
this. I'll tell you this though, and I will get graphic here for a second. I woke up this morning with a hemorrhoid the size of a hockey puck. Yeah, I had to battle that all day.
You're making me hungry.
Oh, I know. Amy Woykin, welcome. Anyways, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Hurt
Too
like a son of a
much.
bitch all day.
Dave, thank you for that. Tim, would you like to discuss your bowel movements?
It's just no problems. Smooth the run-ins, man.
High in fiber. All right. Now that
Smooth
we're
run-ins.
on the right side of the conversation,
Aye.
you don't
what
want
the
this on
hell?
your radio show?
What the hell? What are you guys worried about? Look at all these people. Look at all these people. Oh my god. Come on, like you've never had a hemorrhoid before.
A hockey puck. An
I've
angry red hockey puck.
I've never had
right.
a hemorrhoid before, guys. And I did squats and a lot of heavy lifting lower body back in the day.
Yeah,
An
we can
angry hockey puck. That's
tell.
what he
Angry
woke
hockey
up with.
puck, man. You have no idea.
Get dirty Phil to draw one of
This must be
those.
some kind of a Canadian humor. I'm not following.
Yeah, it's about a grapefruit to us Americans.
You guys are
Hockey puck.
You guys are weak. Okay,
But it's like a
serious question.
deflated soccer ball.
Serious question for you, random guy.
What's up?
Okay, if it isn't ours, and they're saying that okay, let's take Tim's argument here, because for some reason Tim thinks he knows what he's talking about.
Are we talking
here.
about Russia or are we talking about the Navy's engagement?
No, I'm talking about if it isn't ours, and they're coming out saying that it isn't ours,
right?
Then it's alien, because something has to be flying it. Why are we having such a hard time understanding that?
Well, it's not actually. There's a third option that they leave in there that they're just not speaking out loud, and that is that it is either. Actually, it would be four options. One would be mass psychosis, and then the other one would be, which obviously if you have it on radar, that rules that one out. And the other one is an aerial or scientific phenomenon not yet explained. But it doesn't mean, to them, it doesn't mean that it's aliens. It simply means it's some kind of process that's occurring in nature that we have not yet ascertained the origin of. But they're not ready to say it's alien. Yes, we know that's BS, but that's something they silently hold on to or allude to.
Can I interject very briefly? Because SCU did come out with a report that was incredibly interesting that did explain a lot of orbs and, in fact, described in detail how a lot of them occur, why they would be certain colors, and why they would act the way they do. Not saying that all orbs are explainable or this natural occurrence that they were describing, but there were, I believe, 4 variants that would happen in nature, and it's kind of new, and SCU is definitely doing a lot of work in delving into that. Is that kind of what you're talking about as far as potentially some of the newer science on plasma balls and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly informed about exactly what you're talking about, that report or that group. What I do know is that it's very common occurrence that in the past, internally, between certain pilots, certain organizations, in the government when things are observed visually by, again, credible witnesses. They have been explained away to, instead of saying, hey, it's a UFO, it's an alien, it's whatever, they say, well, we're doing XYZ over here with lasers. The meteorology for tonight was conditions, the aurora was over. It's like they come up with a bunch of stuff, and they're like, so the byproduct of that and your eyesight and this camera, and they go deep with it, but they
Right.
never will come out and say, well, it's not ours. What we could tell you it's not ours, but we're not saying it's theirs.
Right.
So,
I interrupted you before you finished because you were on number 3. What would the 4th be?
oh, it's okay. I was married for a while. I'm used to not getting a word in.
But please do finish.
No, I was just saying that was pretty much it though. So it's like it's either man-made, like ours, or it's an adversaries, Russians, Chinese, etc., or mass psychosis, and then the fourth one is naturally occurring, kind of what I was just alluding to, natural occurrence that hasn't been articulated yet. Those are the 4 kind of main groups, but they're only coming out and saying it's not ours. And then that leaves them out with the other 3 where they'll say, well, you guys figure it out because we can't prove it's. I guarantee there's no, even if that question could be formed in a very simple, direct way, the way they would ask it, you could have anybody you want go and say, okay, President of the United States is now going to give full disclosure. He's been briefed on everything. We're going to sit down right now. You guys can't hear me? Or you can?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
There's a question for Tim. That's what I was pointing out.
Okay. But they could sit down with Biden right now, do a full disclosure press conference, say, Mr. President, if it's not ours, who is it or what is it? And he would say that the 3 possibilities exist if pressed to the fire, and you would still have no answers.
I was just looking. It's on SCU's website under results. If you want to go and take a look at their paper that they wrote on orbs, it's fairly in depth. I'm trying to find it.
Why don't you shoot me the link for that?
As soon as I find it, I'm going to share it
in our sat phone conversation.
Yeah, and I'll share it in the show notes, perhaps, so that people can grab it if they're into it. But please, Dave, go on with your question.
If people have come out and said that it is not ours or of any human possibility, then it's aliens that are flying it.
Is it? Can you say that conclusively?
Well, why would we have a secret contingency plan for alien invasion if it wasn't one of their possibilities here?
Oh, I mean, the responsibility of the government is continuity, so they have some crazy stuff in their plans. I don't think that's. I agree with you. I don't think that's. I don't think what I'm getting at is I don't think that that's even that crazy. I would assume they would have that. I would hope so. Like I would expect our government and our military to have a plan for literally anything. All the ice to melt at once, and the poles to reverse. Like I'm absolutely certain there's some kind of weird contingencies with all this stuff that somebody got put in a room and they said, hey, sit down there and write an AFI or write an SOP or whatever, an action order, and we're going to lock it in the safe. And if it ever comes, we're going to dust it off and call you at home. Like that kind of stuff.
And you had mentioned that there were these 4 explanations. And I mean, you're highlighting that because doesn't it scream the fact that none of it has an alien explanation? It's not
Correct.
even a consideration.
Correct. Exactly. We all know. Here's the thing. The visual stuff, I get it. Now, there's 4 actual explanations the military would give. But then we all know what the fifth one is, that they're just lying to us, and it is ours. Because if you're able to track it, right? If you're able to track it with radar and a camera, and you can see it, and it's moving terrestrially, to me, that would, I'm not saying it's not extraterrestrial, I'm just saying more likely than not that it's either ours or our adversaries. If you have any common sense.
Right.
Well, let's switch over to the whole Russia thing for a second.
And by the way, I saw a little bit of chat. Just so you guys know, I talk around some things intentionally. It's not to deceive. It's just what we have to do around here.
Yeah. Talk about the Russian thing. Random guy?
What about, as far as, I agreed with your assessment. Without getting any more details on what the craft looked like, size, shape, velocity, behavior. I mean, we've had how many conversations now? At least dozens about my key indicators to tell me something is more likely terrestrial bound. Red, green, blue at a fixated strobe. Probably that, and not saying it is, right? Because I don't know. We don't know. We don't have enough information. But it's like gun to the head, make a decision based off of this data. I say it's probably something we're doing to mess with them. Or in the area that other civilian airliners had caught. But you got to think, if something is capable of both traversing multiple mediums with air, land, sea, space, wormholes, who knows, right? If it's capable of all that and it's capable of concealing itself visually to us, which is not hard at all, the amount of visual light spectrum that we have in visibility for the human is dog poop, like for how much light the whole spectrum of light works, right? From IR on. And so basically the bottom line is, if it could conceal itself and make itself invisible, then it would suffice to say that it could probably make whatever colors that it wanted to show. So potentially it's alien, but when you have those three colors and a strobe motion and something that I assume was moving at a low velocity, if it was witnessed by both Putin's crew and 3 other civilian jets, that means it's not flying 60,000 miles an hour, right? So my inkling would be some kind of surveillance or even a psyop that we're out there messing with them, make them waste their resources. They're already spread thin in Ukraine. They're trying to do all these backdoor treaties with China and oil deals in Iran and this and that. Let's go get in his head a little bit and give him something to think about over the Capitol. Not out of question.
Yeah. I like it.
You're a man of many words there, little Timmy Seymour.
Oh, I was trying to find that link for for
I wanted
SC.
to watch you two fight it out there at the end of the show.
Right.
I was like, this is it. Timmy's finally going to stand up for himself.
Well, it's just there's two sides to everything, and I'm open to either, and I like talking about both, right? And it's sometimes I find myself arguing against myself, which is tons of fun, and Dave loves to highlight that when that happens.
Well,
but go ahead.
I was just saying, I'll ask you the same question. So the same reason, take the Russia thing. Why I noticed you wanted to push back more on that, and you had a great foundation for your side of the debate, saying why would these civilians be witnessing the same thing, same proximity? Like, that's a logical question. I gave you my side of the argument why I would think it would be more likely terrestrial, outside of the witnessing by the multiple reliable reports. What indications do you have just if I was giving you that side of the debate to make your case that perhaps it was extraterrestrial?
Just simply that a trained observer, 4 independent trained observers reported it, which means that even though they are up there, they're aware that normal lights are red and blue, just the same way you are. And so for them to report this as something odd independently just means that there was something out of the ordinary there that led them to report it. And then the fact that the leader also kind of saw it, it was at a kind of historical moment, perhaps. We know that historically, Russia has reported seeing activity in the skies whenever they moved around. If they moved their anything, if they were moving their artillery around, if they were moving their people around and making moves, anything kind of big before the war, this is historically, that they were getting UAP. And in fact, they had people that were doing hand signals in response to these lights changing shapes in the skies and forming shapes in the skies, according to one Russian report. So there was interaction there. And so I just felt that, since Russian reports were coming out, perhaps this was one that was significant simply since it came from 4 independent trained observers, in my opinion.
Okay. That's a viable explanation. Again, we don't have enough data either way, but I think that's viable. It's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the timing of it is also, I'm aware that there was a laser light show that was in coordination with that. So perhaps it was not normal for those pilots to see laser light show from the ground up into the cloud. We don't know what cloud covering was like, and we don't know how far they were from it, and it could have looked bizarre, right? Even to a trained observer, they may not have seen laser light show in the skies before. So
yeah, and then that kind of goes into that 4th weather unknown phenomenon category, right? Because if lasers are refracting with some meteorological event, like, do we know if there's clouds? Do we know if there was an ice ceiling? Like, there's so many variables to this.
Right.
So yeah, we need more data.
Right. And not only that, I feel like there needs to be, and I feel like even Ryan Graves has put this forward, that there needs to be training for pilots on things that are in the air, the newer stuff. Like, there are new satellites going up all the time. So let's train them on these things that are moving in our night skies now, because otherwise they're going to be like, what is that? And like, even if they see it all the time, they still may not know exactly what it is. There should be updated training so that they're able to negotiate through all this mess in our skies. Right.
I mean, for the most part, I think there's even apps out now. I know there's websites where you could pull up 99% of the satellites in the sky, and it will give you the exact trigonometry where to look. So if you have something that you're tracking, even for us as civilians,
Right. But even with that, there's a ton of stuff that's not going to show up on those apps, right?
Right. Well, I wouldn't say a ton, but yeah, there's some stuff.
Well, I mean, I know I've seen mundane things that I know it's mundane, but it's not tracking on the app that I'm using for whatever reason. And in fact, there are helicopters that have flown over me that don't show up. There are even planes that I can see with my eye, but don't show up on my app for whatever reason. So,
well, if they have their transponders off and they're under certain, depending on if it's like a Class C, depends on the airspace, whether they're required to have transponder and at what altitude.
And at night, that makes it even harder, right? If you're trying to determine, and you're using an app that you trust, and you're like, well, it's not on my app, and it's just such a weird light, then you're like right into the UFO, where it's potentially just a plane without its regular signals on, or I don't know. And I've seen headlights on planes coming in at angles that are so just like bizarre. I've even seen curves, like the light even seems to curve when it's heavy snow or like ice crystals and stuff. You get like a bend in the light, which is bizarre. I don't know. It's like,
I've seen it.
Almost
I've
like
seen
a
it
halo.
a lot I've seen it a lot in Southern California and also in Vegas. In Vegas, it gets so hot that the air visually distorts with the heat.
What I think I'm capturing is part of a halo off of a stronger light that I can't see, if that makes any sense.
100%.
Because
it's similar to what you see in the moonlight when it has a halo with ice.
Yep, exactly like that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm not reading chat, so if anything's going through that you want to...
I'll be there in a second. I'm just downloading right now.
At least you don't have to worry about any swears tonight.
Dave had to go check on his hemorrhoid. He's back.
Oh,
my hemorrhoid's fine.
He's got the pillow.
What did you name him?
I didn't name him. He just pissed me off.
Pucky.
Dave has a hemorrhoid named El Ovni.
Oh, put a little mask on it.
We went too far with this one. What was the third story? Or you want to save that completely?
No, it was coming from Scientific American. I'm more than happy to pull it up.
I'm just saying,
What was it?
Where you're hanging out, get a brief
Yeah.
summary.
So scientists are trying to get serious about studying UFOs, and Scientific American says, good luck with that. Right. And I grew up reading this magazine. It was always on our coffee table. And I found this just so disheartening because it comes from Leonard David, who I like as a writer. But anyways, he goes into saying that new dedicated observatories and crowdsourced smartphone apps will study strange sightings in the sky, but questionable data quality and lack of shared research standards remain key challenges, right? So I wish that this had been written in a way that separated these two, because obviously I agree with a lot of what he says in this underlying statement. I'm not excited about the way the standards are going and who is putting them together. However, I wish we could separate the fact of the existence of UFO, right? Because just because all of these data sourcing tools are coming out, it doesn't delegitimize the actual reality of it, right? And I find that very frustrating. So right off the bat, Scientific American is just like slapping UFO believers right in the face. Anyways, it goes into referring to UFOs and being rebranded as UAPs. It goes into talking about overlapping waves of technological innovation that have been made in sourcing data for this. And that, we're seeing an uptick in UAP reports simply because technology is in everyone's hands, which I feel is an assumption. But it is stated in the article. Another thing that they're saying is an upsurge in encounters and government interest is palpable simply because it's been underscored by the release of the unclassified version of the ODNI report. And so people are more interested because there's this report. Interesting. And then it goes in with a subheadline saying 1 million blurry images. And it's saying 1 million blurry images are worthless compared to a single high-resolution video that resolves an object as it maneuvers. And this is coming as a quote from Avi Loeb. And of course, we know Galileo Project was launched in 2021. And he goes into a little quote here in this article. They obviously went to him for a quote. And he talks about the sensitive astronomical gear that he uses to snag scientific measurements of UAP. And he talks deeply about what they project to do there at Harvard College Observatory. And so they further this and talk about setting standards in another subtopic. And they immediately go into the Florida-based UAPX nonprofit organization dedicated to scientific study. And it refers to their work that they did over in the Catalina Channel, where they purported to have a UAP hotspot. After going into a brief quote from Matthew Sudeikis explaining with UAPX using the solutions, they're still reviewing a lot of their data, but they finally get to this portion in the Scientific American article here that really caught my attention, because I was surprised to see it even mentioned here, that another data-driven approach comes from Enigma Labs, a private company based in New York City that is developing a mobile platform for crowdsourcing UAP reports. The company's newly launched smartphone app offers both a repository for some 270,000 historic sightings from the past century and ways for users to record, upload, and rate new ones. So each observation is subject to an Enigma score, quote unquote, a 1 through 100 rating that is dependent on a variety of factors, such as the number and distribution of witnesses. I'm getting tongue-tied tonight, as well as notional quality of the collected data, which is a little bit of a interesting. So let me just finish this quote by saying they got a quote here from the CEO by ingesting hundreds of thousands of sightings reported in every country and learning from historical sightings, we've been able to build a standardized reporting model that will make sightings comparable, queryable, and accessible across the world, says Mark Douglas, the chief operating officer of Enigma Labs.
I got a question about that. Can I just cut you off there for a quick second?
Please, that's why
This
I'm
is
here.
a group that has been around since let's see, they started, I believe, in 2020. They have not had a website up with a reporting area until recently. How the hell do they have over 300,000 reports?
They bought them.
And why isn't anybody questioning that? Who did they get the reports from?
I think
Did they get them from Bigelow? Did they get them from MUFON? Did they get them from Greer? Did they get them from New Fork or ICAR or any other? Or have they gone into the past of what the government has collected and taken those reports and are using them as their own?
I think we should send them in a bunch of fake ones, like some Photoshop ones, and see how good of a rating we can get.
No, but the point I'm getting at, guys, the point I'm getting at with Enigma Labs is this. They're playing the trust us game. Come to us. We're the new guys. We're going to take care of you. You've literally been collecting reports for a month. How do you have 300,000?
Well, they clearly bought a database.
Absolutely. So did they buy MUFON's database?
I expect we won't know because it's a private company.
Exactly.
We're not ever going to get that information until we get until Enigma's been around long enough that a whistleblower comes out.
It's funny you should mention that.
That's going to take a minute.
That's the next section in this article, if you'd like me to continue. It gets right into whistlers. Yeah, so whistleblowers wanted is the next subsection of this article. And so according to Leslie Keene, a veteran investigative reporter who has spent decades uncovering UFOs and UAPs, the most important near-term progress on the topic is likely to come out of Capitol Hill rather than any science lab or smartphone app. The next year and a half should be a heady time for UAP revelations. She says, thanks to National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023, among other things, that act includes arrangements for a better, more secure process for whistleblowers to come forward. And this process has already begun, Keene says, with some whistleblowers having met with congressional staff and or members of AARO. In this quote, she says, those who have signed secrecy agreements related to UFO are now free to reveal that previously protected information to AARO and Congress without fear of retribution or prosecution. And so congressional committees could then make an effort to verify the information provided by the whistleblowers, some of which may concern the recovery of materials from crashed UFOs and involve legacy investigative programs going back decades. Of course, we don't know how much of the information provided will be made public, she adds, and some of it may have national security implications and will have to be withheld. But ideally, the new process will bring both more valuable UFO data to light and help validate earlier reports from reputable eyewitnesses who already came forward.
I can already see how that's going. It's going to be like you first. You go trust that. See how it goes.
Well, according to her, it's already taking place, and potentially that's true. And we could have seen that happen even before the National Defense Authorization Act was even signed this year, because we are seeing potentially some of the wordage, that we may have seen answered in there from the previous year's questions, if that makes any sense.
No, I get what you're saying, but to me, it's like, okay, so these dudes go, or dudettes, sorry, genderless people go and do their blowing of whistles in front of Congress. Congress doesn't know anything about anything. And meanwhile, these SCI programs that are so compartmentalized, they could still just be like, yeah, not sure what it is. You guys should look into that. And we're still left with the same situation. I'm being negative, but I just don't see how there's any leverage to, even with people coming forward, I don't see how there's leverage for Congress or anybody in politics to move and leverage these people that are knowing about this stuff for certain in a way that can be like, hey, at least tell us. Like, they're not going to.
Right. What about in the private sector? Because here they're saying congressional committees could make an effort to verify the information provided by the whistleblowers. Does that mean that if there are crash recovery materials in the private sector, they would be able to come forward and talk to Congress without having any repercussions, even if they have independent NDAs?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that's how it operate, but because if this stuff is going on, it's actually not the military. It's everything has to be done through contractors because that's how they keep it a secret. Anything that happens in the military is pretty much public knowledge, or it goes through so many levels and so much paperwork, it's hard to contain it. It's better to go to Lockheed or any of these other companies, say, hey, we need this group doing this project. You guys are going to reverse engineer a UFO, whatever. I'm just speaking hypothetically. Go lock yourselves in that warehouse. Never happened. And then they go to those 20 people that worked on it, and they're like, here's your NDAs. No, really, 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 if you ever say anything, it's going to, like, you're going to prison, something bad's going to happen. Like, but you can risk it if you want. Who's going to be the first one to say whatever?
Right.
YOLO. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
And
what I'm saying.
And let me stop you right there because I have a question for both you and Dave on this, because Leslie Keane came out here very strongly saying that in her experience and in her belief is that that this topic is likely to come out of Capitol Hill rather than any science lab or smartphone app. Can you guys maybe throw your opinion into that?
Dave, I'll let you go first, or are you editing?
I don't think it comes down to Capitol Hill.
You're very much that way, aren't you? You're not a supporter of it coming out that way.
Look, whatever comes out of Capitol Hill or whatever comes out of the Pentagon or whatever is going to be so diluted. It's not disclosure. We've talked about that, right?
Right, but Elizondo believes that that is the process, and it would take a baby stepping process. And so,
Well, I mean, you're talking about a guy who also doesn't, who I'm going to say this wrong, and I don't want to because I really like Elizondo. I think he's a good guy, but you got a guy who's towing the company line too.
right, but there's an element of truth to that. We can see a lot of what Elizondo has said is true. And I mean, if you look at the narrative and you think, how would they release this? It makes absolute sense that it would be trickled out over a decade or two. Right. And that is kind of what we're seeing, because we get a drip and then it's taken back 2 steps. And then we get a drip and then it's taken back 2 steps.
True.
And we get these massive ebbs and flows. Like right now, we're getting all this information. There were about 3 months there, Dave, where you and I were scratching the surface for topics. Right. And the whole community was. And now here we are flooded by all this information. And in a month or so, there'll be nothing again. Nothing. And it just seems like that is the way. Now, that has no connection, direct correlation to the activity that is taking place in our skies. The UFOs are doing their own thing. They're always there. Who knows what their schedule is. But the fact of the matter is that the narrative that we see playing out in not only the media, but in our government is just ebb and flow of information, you know.
Just don't forget, guys. Even if it's true, let's say, I don't care what you believe, whether it's Roswell or anywhere in between up to today. Let's say any of that stuff is true, and our government knew about it and concealed it. That's it for our government. Like, there's no coming back from that. If they come out tomorrow and say, hey guys, we really didn't want to tell you this, but we thought about it and we just decided we're going to tell you the truth now after 70 years. Yeah, we've been hanging out with the aliens. We got their aircraft. We've been doing this, but totally, completely trust us from now on. It's over. So they have to almost, even if they want disclosure, they're going to have to frame it in a way where it comes from the people in some dramatic fashion, from an individual or organization. The government will never do it.
And that's the exact point of why I say we are in a confirmation movement and not a disclosure movement. There's a lot of potential lawsuits that could come down. Imagine if it come down where, okay, and I'm being hypothetical here, but imagine if it came down where the U.S. government admitted that they had lists of people who have been abducted by aliens. That's a major, major lawsuit right there. Or if they have witnesses on who's doing the cattle mutilations, the farmers will go nuts. You didn't protect us. You didn't protect our livestock. Right?
That's right.
There's a lot of things that disclosure can't happen. What if Eisenhower in 1954 did trade humans for technology? As far-fetched as that sounds, what if that happened? Random guy is right on this. You know, it would bring the government down. It would bring the entire republic down.
Right. And we know that there's always been a dollar sign attached somewhere along the way here, whether it's asking for more funding for research or the programs attached, or siphoning off money from these programs into black budgets. And so, I mean, ultimately, of course, legislation alone cannot be the most critical element for resolving any UAP mystery, right? And so even in this article, it's saying better data is required. So even if those that amount of data ever arrives, we can't even predict its value, right? Even if we had a bunch of data, it may not have any value moving this actual topic forward, because history has shown us that obtaining strong evidence related to UAP is not a trivial matter. And so Robert Powell even comes in on this as an executive board member of the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, SCU, an organization advocating for the rigorous UAP investigations. And he says, understanding the phenomenon will require much more than hoping for loads of data when a UAP sighting occurs by chance, he says. A solution to the UAP enigma is going to require Congress to allocate funding to the scientific community, Powell concludes. It will not be easy. The military has been investigating the phenomenon on and off for 75 years, and where have we gotten? Nowhere. We need a change. And so he's saying that thanks to ongoing proliferation of scientific studies of data collection projects, as well as the efforts of the U.S. whistleblowers and legislators, perhaps 2023 will finally be when Powell and his peers get the change that they hunger for. And I feel definitely we're seeing, all of these independent companies with their hands out, showing that they have information and asking to be literally funded, in their investigations, which again, really steers them off of the altruistic path that this topic really needs. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but this statement is definitely got mixed information in it for me. How do you feel?
I'm curious to see random guy's opinion first.
I don't know, guys. Here's the way I look at it. In the next decade, if this stuff is going on, all these, how many people have sent you inner orbit videos of something flying by, a light, a rocket, something? Was that a rock? Was that a spaceship? Oh, look, it changed direction. Like all those kind of things. In the next decade, you're going to have 8K cameras on the moon. You're going to have the beginning of probably an unmanned mission to Mars. On the heels, they'll have on the heels of it a manned mission to Mars. They're not going to be able to hide it anymore, like without exception. It's going to be, we're going to have basically the same way you can't walk down the street in most cities in America anymore without being on a camera. That's going to start expanding to our inner orbit, where the public has unfettered access to this stuff. And I think, well, there'll still be secrets and stuff like that. If there's really truly stuff flying around the way that we think there might be, they're not going to be able to hide it. And so none of this, I don't foresee any disclosure. I don't foresee any of this other stuff in the time frame between now and the immediacy and time. I mean, a decade is not very long, of us getting access to these visual confirmations. You look at Starlink, there's going to have cell service all around the world. I mean, it's just, we're getting to the point of technology where the average person is going to have access to the data necessary to determine if something is a hoax or real in real time, and we won't even need a database for it. So if this is really going on large scale level and the government knows about it, they might just be leaking enough to where people don't freak out about it, because we're going to find out anyways. The flip side of that is maybe they just don't know. Maybe they see it, and because they don't know, they're like, oh, people are going to freak out if we're telling them that we don't know what the hell it is, but it's definitely not ours. So let's keep our options open until we have to.
Right. And I'm kind of curious to maybe, Dave, throw your opinion in on this. How do you feel about some of this obvious money grabbing that's going on to be the guy with the best data to get that government check?
I think it's turned into an ugly game. It really has. I mean, you look at all the groups out there that are tackling for money on this subject. MUFON is going for it. We know Enigma is going for it. We know Ryan Graves' group is going for it. We know Galileo is going for it. We know there are probably another 3 or 4 other groups out there that are going for this cash. UAPX, there's another one that's going for it. This has turned into a business of who's going to get the data, who's going to get the contracts, and who's going to get the government money off of that. And, you know, some of these companies would be very, very happy with Bigelow's $22 million that he got in 2007. That would put them over the top for a lot of their study and equipment. Right now, a group like Enigma, $22 million is going to mean nothing. But a group like MUFON, $22 million, that'd bank them for the next century.
Yeah. Yeah. And random guy, do you find it distressing that these companies perhaps will be polarizing their data towards however the government wants this narrative to go if the dollars are enough? Is that potential?
Yeah, because, well, they're going to have the ability to purge something that they don't deem accurate enough, or something. If it doesn't scale, if they have their 1 to 100 system, they could artificially scale things down intentionally that they don't want.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And if that's what the government wants and the government's got the contract for it, that's probably what the government's going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It would not
totally
surprise
agree.
me at all. It would not surprise me at all if Enigma or any of these companies that are on the take, and I don't know the inner office dynamics, but let's assume for a second, just for purpose of my theory here, let's assume that Enigma is a for-profit business and all they care about is money and control, and they're not good people. I'm not saying that's the case, okay? Don't come after me. I'm just saying hypothetically. Could be them, could be anybody else that has similar organization. So their goal is money, power, control. The government wants control. They want secrecy for stuff they know we have that they don't want people looking at, and the government has money. They just keep printing it, right? Regardless. So what's to stop them from having a liaison that every time a report comes in where it's something we're like, yeah, we kind of know that's ours, we'll just be like, hey, just delete that one or put that down to a 5. That's 100% going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Dave, do you have any questions in your chat for RG?
I'm not seeing any questions.
Cool.
So
Maybe
they're all just listening along, and
we're doing a good
seeing
job
where
then.
the conversation goes.
Good. Good. Yeah, I mean that. So my big question is, why is Enigma still being so secretive? I mean, this was the first time that I had ever heard the CEO's name. Mark Douglas, the chief operating officer. I'm sorry, the COO, Mark Douglas. And he's not a name I know, but it's very interesting to see, that he was the one that they went to for a quote for Scientific American, which is a pretty honorable journal. What is your take on the fact that they are being so secretive about the people that are working within this group in New York? Do you think that it is possibly because either A, they're still building, or B, the people involved don't want to go public?
My guess is you're going to find that a lot of the people involved are either related in some capacity to politicians or billionaires, and that's why they don't want to. I mean, you look at a lot of the nepotism that goes on with government contracts. How do congressional people become worth $50 million when they make $200,000 a year? That kind of stuff. Oh, I'm not doing anything. My son just happened to trade all those stock shares just in time, because he's such a master trader, and Taiwan loves to give him contracts or whatever. I'll bet you're going to find a lot of that.
I hate to drag this into it, but it's totally relevant. Part of this article goes into this, and then I'll quote it. Beyond the realm of defense, other parts of the U.S. government are also increasing their investigations into UAP. Last year, NASA created a 16-member Blue Ribbon UAP study team, which seeks to improve the scientific understanding of UAPs by scouring the space agency's vast archives and assets, as well as other civilian and commercial data sources for relevant sightings. And then the team's 9-month unidentified anomalous phenomenon independent study, and they're saying it's well underway. It aims to generate a roadmap of recommendations for potential further NASA UAP studies to follow, as well as a subsequent public report that will detail its findings. What are your expectations of that? And in regards to, in conjunction with Enigma possibly in the future, are we setting ourselves up for them to call this mundane?
Yes,
For me, it's about control. I think that's a great question, Tim. But for me, it's about control. Look, the more you can limit, okay, the more you have control. If you've got, say, 10 or 15 different reporting areas on UFOs, you're not getting all the stories unless you've either bought in to those companies and worked out a financial arrangement, or you've eliminated them and taken over. And the less companies you have out there who are in the game, and you've put all your money and all your dollars behind Enigma is likely going to win. Doesn't matter whether we want them to or not. That's just the way it's going to go. Much like Robert Bigelow was able to, during 2007, get inside FAA manuals, which read that if you have an encounter with a UFO, please call BASS at 1-800, go UFO, or whatever the phone number was. Okay. Why was Robert Bigelow in an FAA book regarding UFOs? And why were commercial pilots supposed to, go there?
Yeah, it's going to be Enigma very soon. But my thing is that I feel like this report, this 9-month quote unquote investigation that the Blue Ribbon team of UFO experts from NASA, they're putting together a public report. What is it possibly going to be detailing? What, if anything, I feel like they're going to do the same thing that, we saw in the 2023 report, the UAP report. They're not going to want to talk about the interesting stuff. They are going to come out with the stuff they can disprove. And that is a frightening thought if, that is going to be their narrative. People don't question NASA. The public doesn't. I mean, honestly, we should, But the public doesn't question NASA the same way they don't typically question the government. So if NASA comes out and says, hey, you know what? Enigma has worked with us and we've done our research and there's nothing historical. Everything that we have historical is just blurry videos you wouldn't be interested in. And our current investigation shows that there's a way to report in the future, but so far there's nothing. And what happens next? They never even got to the next question, which is like, if this is real, what do we do? They never even got there. And I'm afraid of that being the outcome. Do you see them setting us up that way? Is that going to be more than another 75 years of lies? I'll throw that one at RG if you want, because I already know Dave thinks so.
There is no time limit. There's no
Right.
time limit for them unless the aliens themselves have announced when they are coming down. There's no time limit for this.
I still think like what I said earlier, I think eventually we're going to have so much access to stuff that you're going to cut down. You're going to cut as technology advances, we get more surveillance, especially in the space you're going to have. So Sony, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Sony has a cool little satellite project. They launched a camera into space last year. And you're going to be able to go in there and log on to their website. I think they have an app coming out. I'm not sure where they're at with it. And literally point this high-powered camera anywhere you want and take a picture that's in orbit. Completely controlled by Sony and you. You could literally, with a joystick, take a picture, whatever you want, and have it sent to your phone or your computer. That is just the baby step of what you're going to see in the next 10 to 20 years. Wow. You're going to be able to look, and the government's not going to be able to stop you anymore. So I feel like if there is something to tell us, they're either leaning toward it in baby steps. So the timeline to me, or the time limit for me, Dave, is that technology, which is already starting to go out there. So I think we're within the next 10 to 20 years, there's not going to be an option if it's actually happening. Now, if these things aren't flying all over the place and there's not, things going on that can be observed, then nothing's going to change, because why would it? And as me being a skeptic, I feel like, I'm not going to say what percentage, but I feel like a large percentage of this stuff is just our stuff or testing of different parts of our stuff and being misunderstood. So I feel like that stuff, clearly, they're never going to talk about, and I support that as a matter of national defense. So it's a difficult thing to navigate from that perspective.
Let's get to a couple questions here.
Cool.
Or a question comment. Nicole's question is, why doesn't Arrow then validate the 701 unknown cases from Project Blue Book? It's a great point. Probably because they've simplified ufology since the Nimitz in 2004. And cases prior to that really don't seem to have any validation on anybody there. Publicity-wise, I would assume that would be it. Let's go to Markham. Or would either of you like to comment on that?
I think you got that. You nailed that.
And Nicole follows up. Why doesn't Arrow acknowledge the ATPWG or BASS or NIDS or OSAP? Good point again, Nicole.
Nicole, you should get into this stuff and learn some stuff.
Sarcasm. Nice.
101. Okay, guys, we're going to be wrapping up in about 3 minutes here, because
I saw a question about Antarctica. Did you see that one?
I did not.
Oh, it was up a little bit, but somebody had a question about Antarctica. I was going to get excited because I have a friend there right now working.
Is that a punishment?
Nah, he gets paid fat. I think didn't I send you guys some photos from there? From the lab where they're at?
Maybe.
Oh.
Hey, RG.
Hey, they're not my photos, so.
Do you think that the temperature on UFO, like the publicity, the media, the governmental, the hype, the whole thing, the whole narrative is elevating at the same rate as the temperature on the planet as far as warfare goes, and like everyone's fighting and it's like a lot of craziness, and at the same rate, do you think that potentially one can be used as the distraction for the other?
I mean, potentially, but I'd actually argue that we're at a very low tension point right now. People they use recency bias, and then they kind of collect things that are not connected. Like, let's not forget that we had like 2 major war fronts going on for basically 2 decades, right? And so the temperature inherently, at least for the United States and Canada, is a lot lower than it has been. Now, is there potential for things? Yeah. But I think a lot of it's politically and social media driven. I don't see from a tactical standpoint, like us being I don't see us being a more of a disadvantage or have our hands in too many pots or anything like that. I feel like we're in a good place militarily, actually, despite
maybe the
preferences.
world, though. The world's temperature in warfare is perhaps elevating. I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
maybe
get it.
we're
Well, I
seeing
mean,
more
Russia.
activity.
Once
We
you bring
just,
Russia
I mean, we
in
just
there,
saw in the headlines UFO and Putin. I mean, that's
Well, I think that's the big thing. It's supposed superpowers, yeah, for sure. Because all the usual suspects are doing the same saber rattling they've done for decades. And they're nothing burgers, right? Iran does what Iran does, Israel does what Israel does with Iran and the Palestinians, and those are hot spots. And then you got North Korea is like, hey, look at us, we shot something in the ocean again. We're gonna kill you all. Like none of that's anything new. The only thing new here is that literally the action that Russia's taking. That is the singular hot spot that everybody's kind of like, all right, what's this idiot up to? Like, what's the end game?
Cool.
Well, we'll soon find out.
Yeah.
On that note, gentlemen, little Timmy Senor.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.
It's been fun.
And random guy, quick question from Nikki. What branch of military were you in?
I was in the Air Force.
There you go. Random guy. Thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco is here with The Spiritual You. Big thank you to everyone who super chatted tonight. Deb, Vaughn, Twilord, Eric ×2, Random Guy, Susie, Blue, Pam, Derek, and Shaq. Thank you, guys. We're going to have a fun time tomorrow night as well. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up or down or sideways, whatever you choose. And don't forget that we'll be back tomorrow. See you then.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.